Okay, welcome everyone. You logged on to a virtual hearing of the BMZA zoning docket for November 2nd, 2021. My name is Katie Byrne. I'm the executive director of the BMZA. I'm just going to go through just a few housekeeping items. As you may have just heard in our general meeting, 2021-196, 501-503 Albemarle. That matter is being postponed by the board to November 16th, which is our next docket. That matter will not be heard today. If you are on the line for that matter, we will not be taking any testimony. We will not be hearing that case today. So if you have signed on via the internet, you are considered an attendee. And right now you do not have the ability to mute or unmute yourself. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a microphone, camera buttons, and a chat feature. You should be able to see the board and myself on the screen. When your case is called, I'll make you a panelist and unmute you. If your camera is functional, you'll have the option of turning your camera on, so we'll be able to see you. Anyone who calls in and wishes to testify will hear 2 beeps when they are unmuted. If after you hear the 2 beeps, you wish to speak on the issue, please speak right away. If I don't hear any response, I will mute the caller and move on to the next person. If you are unable to connect via audio, please use the chat feature. If a speaker is inaudible, they will be directed to call back. If you would like to testify in support or opposition of a matter, you can let me know in 2 different ways. You can use the chat feature to identify the case number and whether you support or oppose. Please do not use the Q&A. The Q&A I cannot see. I can only see one or the other, and we're using the chat function. There is also a hand raising function, and you can raise your hand when there is a matter that you wish to testify on and that case is called. The order of testimony will be as follows. First, the applicant, then any testimony in support, then any testimony in opposition, and then the applicant will get the last word and testimony on the case will close. Anyone speaking on a matter before this board is testifying under oath and required to speak the whole truth and nothing but the truth. If you have any issues with WebEx, please call our office. Someone will hopefully be able to help you. Please do not email me because I can't review my email during the hearing. Our office number is 410-396-4301. And again, if you're having technical difficulties and can't participate for that particular reason, please email us at bmza@baltimorecity.gov to explain what those technical difficulties were or are. All right, and I will turn it over to our chair.
Good afternoon. Without video yet again, but as long as you can hear me, we'll be fine. The board will normally we take these matters up at the end of the docket. After your case has been heard, we will deliberate. You can listen in to that deliberation, but you cannot participate. In any event, we expect to. If we don't reach a decision today, it likely will be due to the fact that we might need additional information or made some other provision to get something that we don't have. Otherwise, you can expect to receive your ruling in the mail within about 30 days. We ask that you not commence your project until you have received your formal ruling, and certainly don't do any work in Baltimore City without pulling the proper permits. Ms. Byrne has advised of at least one matter that is postponed today, 2021-196, 501 through 503 Albemarle. That matter won't go forward. We have a few other postponements. I'll just call those out. So if you're here to testify as to any of these matters, these will not be heard today. Next postponement is case number 2021-219. 2201 Brookfield Avenue. The appellant on that is Adam Carballo. That matter will not be heard today. Another postponed case is case number 2021-228, 18 through 22 West 27th Street. The appellant on that is AB Associates. That will not be heard. Additionally, another postponed case, case number 2021-231, 2338 through 2340 McElderry Street. Samuel Perez That's the applicant on that one. And finally, case number 2021-232, 2230 Aiken Street. Brian Parker Jr. is the applicant there. That matter is postponed as well. We will turn our attention first to our consent docket. Consent cases are those cases for which the board believes it has sufficient information to approve the appeal. So we will hear reports from staff and planning, ask the applicant if they have anything additional they'd like to add for the record, and then resolve those cases in turn. We'll start with case number 2021-174, 1875 Mansion House Drive. The appellant is the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore, and this is a request to expand or rehab the existing parking lots at the entrance to the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore. Now, hear any reports we may have.
Thank you. Martin French for the Baltimore City Planning Department. Planning Department notes that this property is located in Druid Hill Park, which is a designated place on the National Register of Historic Places. Therefore, any changes to the conditions in the park must also be authorized by the appropriate authorities administering that National Register designation. Specifically, with regard to the parking lot plan itself, there was a proposal presented to the Site Plan Review Committee on January 17th of 2021. The proposed additional parking area would enlarge the amount of impervious surface already provided in the park and would result in removal of some large trees. The applicant must provide an approvable plan for forest conservation mitigation, and also stormwater management features must be included in the final design for the parking. With those comments, the Planning Department is recommending approval of the application subject to the condition that all improvements authorized by the board are completed and maintained in accordance with plans approved by the Department of Planning. Thank you.
To essentially echo what Mr. French was saying, this is a variance request. It's an expansion of a pre-existing permitted use under section 2-203C2 of the zoning code. The board has the ability to approve that. I have a Diane Hutchins who indicated she wished to testify in support. So Ms. Hutchins?
Yes.
Katie,
Okay.
you're broken up.
Can you guys hear me?
I can now.
Okay,
Yeah, I
Ms.
can
Hutchins.
pretty well.
All right, great. Ms. Hutchins, are you here on behalf of the zoo?
I am indeed.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon to Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Municipal and Zoning Appeals. For the record, I am Diane Hutchins, the Vice President of Government Affairs for the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore. I believe I also have on video Mr. Carl Kranz, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore, and Mr. Anthony Dietz, who is Project Manager and Senior Engineer from Century Engineering. Before I say anything else, I'd like to thank Ms. Roxana Cifuentes for her assistance last week as I was trying to understand how to go about this. I appreciate her work, and I thank you for having such wonderful staff. For your information, the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore is owned by the City of Baltimore and is about to approach year 30 of a 40-year lease with the state of Maryland. We are operated by a 501c3, the Maryland Zoological Society Incorporated, via sublease with the state of Maryland. So we are owned by the city, leased to the state, and run by a 501c3. The zoo has been run by either the Baltimore Zoological Society or the Maryland Zoological Society since 1984. It was created by an act of the Maryland General Assembly in 1876. The lease gives the zoo use of the parking lots outside of the zoo's fence line. The fence line is federally mandated by the Animal Welfare Act. Parking lots were installed by the city in 1979, and there's been almost nothing done to them since. The city and the state, by dint of the lease, are indemnified. We began our conversation with Recreation and Parks in 2012. We've kept them informed of every one of our movements on these parking lots for the last 4 years. They're not really expansions, they are rehabilitations of lots that are in desperate need of work. We informally spoke with several members of the community in 2018. We have formally held 2 meetings with neighborhood associations surrounding Druid Hill Park via Zoom, both of which were recorded. And there were 9 separate organizations who were invited. The Greater Mondawmin Coordinating Council, the New Auchentrolley Terrace Association, the Greater Remington Improvement Association, the Woodbury Community Association, the Reservoir Hill Association, the Reservoir Hill Improvement Council, the Hamden Community Council, the Friends of Druid Hill Park, and the Druid Hill Park Partnership. On both of them, the meetings were held on May the 12th. Then the communities were given 3 weeks advance notice, and October 26th, as a follow-up meeting, the communities were given 2 weeks in advance notice. There was a PowerPoint given out in advance of the May 12th meeting that people received 2 hours before the meeting commenced. The May 12th meeting lasted for 2 hours. The October 26th meeting lasted for 23 minutes.
Ms. Hutchinson, let me just interrupt you very briefly, ma'am. This is James Fields, the chair. Unfortunately, you can't see me, but I just wanted to let you know, this information is helpful. You are on the consent docket, and again, that means that we have the sufficient information that we need to approve the appeal. So if there's anything you want to be sure you want placed on the record for your own reasons, that's fine. But the history of getting to here today, we accept that, and we have frankly already agreed that we are prepared to approve the request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize. I thought
That's okay.
we were on the regular docket. I did not.
That's all right. No, you're on the consent docket, and again, we appreciate that background, and at some point, I would like to hear that, but but I am looking forward to using those new parking lots.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to all the members of the board.
Thank you. Let me just state for the record again, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. All right. Moving on, the next case on the consent docket, case number 2021-194, 516 South Conkling Street. Shanzette Jones is the appellant, and this is a request to use the premises for a mental health clinic. And I'll hear any reports we have from planning and or staff.
Thank you. Planning Department has reviewed this application and has no objection to its approval. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
A matter comes before the board as a conditional use healthcare clinic. There is also a variance to off-street parking requirements. 9 spaces are required, 0 are proposed, so there would be a nine space variance requested. And I have Ms. Jones here, and I will make her a panelist. Ms. Jones, you're unmuted.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon, Ms. Jones. Welcome to the BMZA. You're here on the consent docket, and that's correct, Ms. Burns?
Yes.
All right. You're here on the consent docket for the BMZA, and I'd just like to know if there's anything you'd like to add to your application at this time.
No, there's nothing I'd like to add at this time. Thank you so much.
Very well. Well, the board, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. You all have a wonderful day.
You too, ma'am.
Okay.
Moving on, case number 2021-199, 3827 Falls Road. The appellant is Sean Chopra, or Chopra. I apologize if I didn't get that right. The purpose of this appeal is to use the first floor of the premises as a restaurant adding live entertainment. Second and third floor is a hotel with 7 guest units, and to expand the outdoor seating to the adjoining consolidated lot located at 3833 Falls Road. I don't know any reports we have from planning and staff.
Planning Department has no objection to the amended application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Again, just to reiterate, this is live entertainment to an existing restaurant on the first floor, second and third floor as a hotel with 7 guests. Expand outdoor seating adjoining to the consolidated lot. So the lots are consolidated. I have Sean Chopra, who I've just made a panelist and is currently unmuted.
Yes, thank you so much. I have nothing else to add. I really appreciate this.
Very well. Thank you, sir. Well, the board, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care. Calling case number 2021-205, 1601 Locust Street. The appellant is Samir Khalid. This is a request to use the ground floor as a convenience store. The basement and second floor is storage. Now, here are any reports we have from planning and staff.
Planning Department has reviewed this application, noted that this property was last authorized for use as a retail goods establishment, no alcoholic beverage sales, and therefore the property qualifies for neighborhood commercial establishment approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. French.
Again, ground floor premises in a neighborhood commercial establishment and second floor and basement for storage. This is again a conditional use for neighborhood commercial retail goods establishment, no alcoholic beverage sales. The prior authorized use was for a first floor as a convenience store. I've got Mr. Khalil. I'll make a panelist. Mr. Khalil, you're unmuted.
How can I mute it?
No, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Khalil, is there anything you'd like to add to your application at this time, sir?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. The application, we apply to use the building, the first floor to be used for convenient, which was approved by the city a couple of years ago. And then for a crucial condition, the building was closed for a while. And now the owner wants to reuse it again and try to open it to support his family. It is located on high density area, as a lot of people would like to see a store which is support the community and support his family. So we'd like to help from the board to authorize this person to continue and to improve the building. The building now, it's just like in very bad shape, and he's willing to improve and remodel the first floor and the second floor and to make it a better looking building.
Very well. I can happily tell you that the board, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Good luck to you.
Thanks.
Now calling case number 2021-234, 1020 Hollins Street. The appellant is Denzel Chin, and this is a request to use the first floor of the premises as a daycare center for 10 children and to use premises as multifamily dwelling. Now, here are any reports we have from planning and staff.
Planning Department has reviewed this application, noted that this property is located in the Poppleton Urban Renewal Plan area. The Urban Renewal Plan does not prohibit or restrict the proposed use. The applicant encourages the department encourages the applicant to see to it that daycare center staff assist and manage drop-off and pickup of children at this site on Holland Street. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. French.
Again, a conditional use as a daycare center is a conditional use in R8. The applicant wishes to use the first floor as a daycare for up to 10 children, and then the remainder of the premises would be a single family dwelling in an R8 district. So I've got Mr. Chen. I will unmute him. Mr. Chen?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah,
Let me just ask the question. let me just ask you a question, and then you can tell us what you'd like to tell us. Do you have anything you'd like to add to your application at this time, sir?
No, not at all.
All right.
But thank you.
Well, the board having heard your appeal, we believe you have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you so much, Mr.
All right.
Good luck to you.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to case number 2021-235. The eastern side of South Haven Street, section of O'Donnell Street. The appellant is 1201 South Haven Street LLC. And here's the explanation. This appeal involves a subdivision or request to subdivide and consolidate into 3 separate parcels and redevelop as a 2,500 square foot carryout food shop with 2-lane drive-through facility and 4,960 square feet of retail goods establishment. Variance for rear yard and off-street parking is requested or required. I'll hear reports from planning and staff.
Thank you. Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that the property is currently zoned I2 and also contained in the Canton Industrial Area Urban Renewal Plan area. There are 2 bills which are presently in front of the City Council. City Council Bill 21-0120, which would remove the property from the urban renewal area, and 21-0119, which would rezone the property to C3, which would then allow the proposed uses. The Planning Department recommends that approval of this application be subject to the condition that City Council Bills number 21-0119 and 21-0120 are enacted, and that all development of the subject property is then completed and maintained in accordance with development plans approved by the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French.
Okay, there are 3 specific requests: conditional use for a drive-through facility, variance to off-street parking requirements, 18 spaces, 6 stacking max, 53 spaces, 18 stacking spaces proposed, 35 spaces, and 12 stacking spaces would be the variances requested. Minimum rear yard setback is 20 feet, 11 is proposed, so it would be a 9-foot rear yard setback. We also have a letter of support from the Brewers Hill Community Association, and Caroline Hecker is here for the applicant, and I've just unmuted Ms. Hecker.
Good afternoon, Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin Greenberg, on behalf of the applicant.
Good afternoon, Ms. Hecker. Thank you for appearing today. Ma'am, is there anything you'd like to add to your application at this time?
We submitted a PowerPoint of exhibits for the application to Ms. Byrne yesterday afternoon. I would just add that that be incorporated into the record.
We certainly will accommodate that request. And if there's nothing further, I can tell you that the board, having heard your appeal, I believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to case number 2021-237, 783 Washington Boulevard. The appellant is Ripped Canvas Corp. And this is a request to use the first floor of the premises as a tattoo shop. Now, here are any reports we have from planning and staff.
Thank you. The Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that this property is located in the Washington Village Urban Renewal Area. That urban renewal plan does not restrict or prohibit the proposed use. It does include design and rehabilitation standards, which the applicant should consult concerning any exterior alterations and signage which would be installed as a result of approval of this application. The department recommends that approval of the application be subject to the condition that all exterior changes in signage are completed and maintained in accordance with criteria provided in the Washington Village Urban Renewal Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, again, straightforward. Conditional use is a body art establishment in a C1 district. And if you are here for Ripped Canvas, if you could please raise your hand or put in the chat that you are here for this matter. Let me go up. I know we had a couple people pop up earlier in the chat saying they were here for specific numbers. And Simon, you could help me also monitor. There we go. Oh, nope, that's not it. Sorry. All right, I'm going to go through the call-in users to see if the applicant for Ripped Canvas is one of our callers.
I just need like a 60-second break real quick. There are alarms going off in my house.
Sure.
Okay,
I'll be right back.
very well.
All right, give me
You're
a
looking for
chance.
Dominic
to find
Carter, I believe, Katie.
Dominic Carter. Okay, thank you. There we go. There's Mr. Carter. Yep, and I see a hand raised too. All right, excellent. Mr. Carter, if you could sit tight just for one moment and we'll have when Ms. Turner comes back.
No problem.
We also have Pigtown Main Street here in support of Ripped Canvas as well.
Okay.
And I'll just make a general reminder to people that we got a couple things in the chat. If we are not taking things in order, if you heard, if we skipped over a case that you're here for, that means it will be called later at the end of the consent docket.
Okay, so I'll be off camera, but I'll be here listening. I'm back.
Very well. Everything okay?
Yes, just the microwave. in
Very
the
well.
meeting. And the sock that tells me if he's breathing. So that's why I freaked out, because that alarm kept going off.
All right, got it. Thank you. So we have Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. You're here on the consent docket, the BMZA. Is there anything you'd like to add to your application at this time, sir?
I mean, no, I'm not sure if I've been listening correctly. It's all pretty much been approved. I mean, we're at 801 Washington Boulevard, so we're about 4 doors down. We've been there for almost 5 years now.
Okay, so you're at 801 presently. You're moving or adding a location to 783?
Yeah, if everything with COVID, we're trying to move to a larger space to give ourselves and our clients more separation.
Understood. All right, very well. You're correct. Effectively, this is approved. The board, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Calling case number 2021-239, 3010 Kentucky Avenue. William Holmes is the appellant. And this is a request to use the premises for live entertainment and dancing accessory to an art studio. Now here, it reports from planning and staff.
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Very well, sir.
This is conditional use, live entertainment and dancing as accessory uses. Currently use the premises as an art studio. We have support from a councilman, or we have support from Antonio Glover. We have support from Bel Air Edison Association, and we have a signed MOU between the owner and the Bel Air Edison Community Association. Pretty detailed. It is multiple pages here. hold on one second. And they also have a signed agreement with Bel Air Edison School for parking. The agreement is between William Holmes and Zelda Holmes, owners of 3010 Kentucky Avenue. The agreement was dated actually November 25th, 2020. Let's see. Regarding the terms and conditions regarding exterior lighting, interior and exterior tasteful, clean, inviting to customers. Operational hours per the MOU was Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Weekend hours, Saturdays and Sundays, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. One contact person to receive communications from the community at all times. They actively discourage illegal activity, ensure any graffiti is cleaned up, effort to be an asset to the community. They'll appoint a contact person and let's see. And it was signed by Rita Gervais, president of Bel Air, and Williams and Zelda Holmes. So I will find the Holmeses here. And Mr. Holmes, I've made you a panelist and you are unmuted.
Thank you. How you doing?
Good afternoon, Mr. Holmes. Sir, is there anything you'd like to add to your application today?
No, sir.
All right. Well, the board, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Calling case number 2021-240, 5720 Highgate Drive. The appellant is Kawumba James. And this appeal addresses seeking a variance to bulk regulations to construct 200 feet of 6-foot stockade with 2 feet of lattice at the top. Here are the reports we have from planning and staff.
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
So the requested variances are as follows. It's a corner side yard setback, 20 feet is required, 0 is proposed. Hold on one second. I believe that is the only variance required. All right, and I will get Ms. James as a panelist. Yeah, I think there were 2 variances. Why am I missing? Oh, here we go. Size and height. I think Simon, could you chime in on that? I think I might be missing my page of notes.
Sure. The variances requested were a corner side yard setback variance of 20 feet and a maximum fence height variance. It'd be between 2 and 5.5 feet based on whether it's in the corner of the yard.
Thank you. Ms. James, you're unmuted.
Hi, how are
Good afternoon, Ms. James. Is there anything you'd like to add to your application at this time?
you? I just wanted to thank everybody. I would love to keep it up because it's for safety reason for my nephew and my nieces so that they can play in the background and also for my parents. And I've had people coming in my backyard with their dogs and also just taking shortcut.
I see. Okay, very well. Oh, I appreciate that additional information. I can tell you that the board, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a good
Take care. And the final case on the consent docket today is case number 2021-241, 819 East Pratt Street. I don't know if this is a name or a moniker, RYMKS Bar and Grill. I can't even say that. Bar and Grill LLC is the appellant. This is a request to use the premises as a restaurant with outdoor table service and to add live entertainment. I'll hear from planning and staff.
Thank you. Planning Department has reviewed this application and has no objection to the application itself. However, the department notes that the floor plan that was included with the application shows a portion of the property designated as carryout with its own door on Albemarle Street. This is separate from the dining room itself, and this should be removed from the floor plan that receives the board's approval.
Thank you, Mr. French, for that information.
All right, and again, conditional use for live entertainment. We have in the packet a memorandum of understanding between Little Italy Community Organization and the applicant, RYMKS Bar and Grill. It was also an MOU that they incorporated with the liquor board. The owners agreed that the restaurant will operate as a dine-in and carry-out food establishment. Restaurant will from time to time be used for banquets, weddings, and dining party/events. It's agreed that the owners that off-street parking be provided or become part of the contracts for large functions. And let's see, community supports and owner agreed to a live entertainment license, and that deals with the liquor board. All live entertainment, music, and dancing will cease at 11 p.m. Disc jockey will cease playing music at 11 p.m. All background music will be played for atmospheric ambience only at the legal decibel. Off-street parking will be provided to all employees or at a private function. Signed by Gia Blatterman, president of LICO. And let's see, I think it's Derek Smith and Tian Everidge. And I think Mr. Barry is here for the applicant. Mr. Barry, are you here for the applicant? For 819? You are unmuted. Let's see. Okay, he is not. So that's the wrong one. Let's see. Let me see if I can find there we go. Mr. Everidge, I've just made you a panelist, Tian Everidge, and you're unmuted.
Yes,
okay, there you go.
I'm sorry, who do we have? Mr. Edwards?
yes, Mr. Everidge, Tian Everidge. I'm one of the co-owners of Remix Bar and Grill.
Okay, Mr. Everidge. All right. Thank you, sir. Sir, is there anything you'd like to add to your application at this time?
Not at this time, no.
Very well. The board, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Good luck to you, sir. Am I correct, Katie? That concludes our consent docket.
I believe so. I think Ms. Blatterman was also available if we wanted to talk to her about that one. She was the signer of the MOU.
I think with regard to these matters that we have, for which we have MOUs, we can, I guess, exactly, attach those to the decision.
Yep.
Make that part of the approval.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Starting back at the top, our regular docket will commence with case number 2021-186, 3701 through 3707 Wilkins Avenue. The appellant is Signage LLC, and this appeal seeks to raise the existing 1,684 square foot Dunkin' Donuts restaurant building and replace it with a 984 square foot Dunkin' Donuts establishment. I'm sorry, Dunkin' establishment without the interior dining space and an accessory drive-through facility. And I'll hear any reports we have from planning and staff.
Thank you. Planning Department has reviewed this application. This property is zone C2. A specific issue has arisen with this particular property's site plan, which was that when the site plan was presented to the Site Plan Review Committee on June 30th of this year, it received approval with comments, but the significant comment was that the proposed drive-through lane would be situated in part in the public right-of-way, and that this should be subject to removal from the city of by the city of Baltimore in the future, should the city decide to widen the roadbed adjoining the property. The applicant is therefore encouraged to inform the board of the status of arrangements with the city of Baltimore concerning use of a portion of the public right-of-way for the drive-through lane. Subject to that comment, the department recommends approval of the application, subject to the conditions that: 1, the applicant has received approval from the city of Baltimore to use a portion of its public right-of-way for the proposed drive-through facilities drive-through lane. And second, that all construction, landscaping, and signage are completed and maintained in accordance with plans approved by the Department of Planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. French.
The application, actually, there are 4 issues before the board. The first, the conditional use for the drive-through facility. Second, an interior side yard variance. Third, variance to the landscape manual, which would allow a buffer planting strip less than is required. I believe the interior side yard variance is 10 feet is required. I believe 7 feet is proposed, but I've got Ms. Hecker on the line, and I'll make sure that I'm properly. So Ms. Hecker, you are unmuted. As I go through the application points, if you could just confirm that we've identified them properly based on the information. So first, again, conditional use, drive-through facility, interior side yard variance, 10 feet is required. I believe 7 is proposed.
That's correct.
Variance to the landscape manual, essentially to allow buffer planting strips less than the required minimum width. And that has everything to do with the fact that you have a narrower strip, right?
Correct.
And then variance to sign regulation. So and this is where we would ask Ms. Hecker to explain. The sign ordinance says that you're only allowed to have 2 on the face, but I believe 4 in the original application was proposed. So I would ask Ms. Hecker to explain how the board could grant a variance to the sign that they are presenting.
Thank you. Caroline Hecker, for the record, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg, on behalf of the applicant. I prepared a short PowerPoint presentation, which I've sent over to Ms. Byrne, and I can share my screen if that's all right with you all, and you can.
That'd be great.
All right, I'm going to pass you the ball.
All right, let's see.
Go.
All right. Okay. Are you seeing the PowerPoint screen?
We are.
All right, excellent. All right, so let me just walk through. Ms. Byrne did an overview of the variances. Here is an aerial view of our site. It's at the intersection of Wilkins Avenue and Southwestern Boulevard. It's a triangularly shaped parcel. It's zone C2. It's just over 6,000 square feet. The top portion of the property along Wilkins Avenue, if you can see my cursor, oops, you can see my cursor, you can see it here. These parking spaces are already currently located in the public right-of-way, and I'll go through this in a little bit more detail. There is an existing Dunkin' Donuts here. It does not have a drive-through, but it does have an interior dining area. They've discovered that, due to the conditions during the pandemic, they would much prefer to have the reverse, have a drive-through and get rid of the interior dining area. So what they're proposing to do is demolish the existing building and construct a new Dunkin' Donuts on the site that does include a drive-through, but does not include the interior seating area. This, again, is the interior area. It's not well used right now. Most folks just walk up, pick up their donuts and carry them out. So what they'll have in the future is just the drive-through facility with a walk-up window. There are other drive-through facilities located in the immediate vicinity that are shown on the map here. There's a McDonald's and a mixed crab market close by. Here's our site plan that shows how the site will lay out going forward. This line across the top half of the property here is the property line. That portion of the drive-through lane is located within the public right-of-way. Again, this is an existing condition right now. We have been in touch with the Department of Transportation about the encroachment into the right-of-way. I think I've got a better view of it here. It's a little over 3,000 square feet, this area of the public right-of-way that we'll be utilizing. And the Department of Transportation has confirmed that this was originally acquired by the city in anticipation of a widening of Wilkins Avenue that is no longer contemplated. And they're comfortable with us using it. It will be memorialized by way of a franchise ordinance under which we will obtain formal approval to have this drive aisle located within the public right of way. I would note that none of the building, no structure is proposed on the public property, on the city property there. It's just the drive aisle. So here again, this is our proposed conditions plan with our landscaping. As Ms. Byrne mentioned at the beginning, we are proposing to have we need a setback variance and a landscape buffer variance along the western side of the property where it abuts a residential property. There's a 10-foot setback and landscape buffer strip required. We're proposing 7 feet for each, but because it is slightly less than the 10 feet that would be required, we are proposing to construct a fence along that property line as well to further buffer the adjacent residential property. With regard to the signage plan that's proposed does show 4 signs. What I want to clarify, though, is that, and this is consistent with what the board approved in the McDonald's case that we had on Franklin Avenue. These signs that are at the top of the structure technically sit on the parapet. They're above the ground floor, and that is consistent with what the board found in the very similar McDonald's case. As above ground floor signs, 2 signs are permitted. We are showing 3. One of them will have to be removed. We're not asking for a variance, but the board doesn't have approval to grant. So our client's going to have to make a decision about which one of these Dunkin' Go signs will be removed. The 4th sign is this graphic that is at the ground floor level along the drive-through side of the building. That sign is a little over 45 square feet. A sign of 18 square feet would be permitted. Because that's a ground floor sign, it's treated separately from the above the ground floor sign. So in total, we're permitted by right to have 2 above ground floor signs, 1 ground floor sign, and then the canopy sign is the other sign, which is this little sign, just says pickup over the pickup window here. These are the signage dimensions. You can see in greater detail. The graphic is a little over 45 square feet. The Dunkin' Go signs are about 26.5 square feet apiece.
So just to clarify, so the argument is that you have above ground floor sign, and then so you don't have a number issue because of above ground floor signs, above ground floor wall sign and ground floor wall sign. But what you need is a variance to size for square footage.
For the ground floor sign, exactly.
Ground floor sign.
Yes. And then this slide summarizes the relief we're requesting, which is the drive-through authorization, the buffer planting strip, side yard variance, and the ground floor sign, wall sign that would be larger than what would be permitted.
All right. So if I'd let you finish, we could have read that. Thank you.
That's all right. And then I have in the PowerPoint presentation, which I submitted in writing to Ms. Byrne, we did go through the legal standards, which I'm happy to walk through if you'd like, but I know the board has a lot of other things on the docket this afternoon. So
I think that's sufficient. I don't think we need the further detail. Any questions from the board?
No.
All right. I think we're good, Ms. Eckert.
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to case number 2021-201, 3132 Remington Avenue. The appellant is Cheryl Sedera. This appeal addresses variance to bulk and yard regulations related to the use of premises as a multifamily dwelling consisting of 3 dwelling units. A variance is required for off-street parking. I'll hear from planning and staff.
Planning Department has no official comment on this application. We believe that the information available to the department may not match information available to BMZA staff. Planning Department believed that this property was listed as a single-family dwelling and therefore conversion would not be within the jurisdiction of the board to approve. However, we've received information that this property may already be listed as a multifamily dwelling and therefore we have no further comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French.
I couldn't hear the end of that comment.
Therefore, we have no comment.
Before that, the rationale for it.
Okay, the Planning Department information appeared to show that this property was last listed as a single-family dwelling. However, we've received information that the property may in fact be listed as a multifamily dwelling currently, and therefore we have no comment on the request by the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Again, the request by the applicant is to use the premises as a multifamily dwelling, 3 GUs in an R7 district. Research by staff, we found the land use card. So in 1979, the board actually approved this for 2 dwelling units. So the legal authorization is currently for 3 dwelling units. We have a letter of support from the Greater Remington Improvement Association. They provided photographs as well showing evidence of 3 units. However, we only have a legal record for 2 units. We have a letter in opposition from Joan Floyd. She states that the 3100 block of Remington, like many Remington block faces, is zoned R7, which requires 11,000 square feet lot area per dwelling unit. The property at 3132 has 1,216 square feet of lot area, enough for a single family dwelling. She does state for some reason it already has 2 units. She believes the request for a third is absurd and the board should deny it. Let's see. And she states there's nothing unique about the property to meet the requirement for a lot area variance, no practical difficulty, not one created to divide a row house. Let's see. So if we look at the numbers in R7, a minimum lot area variance, what's required for square footage is 2,750 square feet for 3 units. That would be, the board would have to grant a 1,534 square foot variance in addition to 3 off-street parking. So I will have Ms. Sedera as a panelist. And Ms. Sedera, you are unmuted.
Hi, yes, thank you, board, for making time for us today. I do believe my client, John Whitey, who bought the property, is.
Mr. Dara, your audio is garbled a bit.
Did you say John Whiten?
Yes, I did.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna mute you for a sec, and I'm gonna get Mr. Whiten as a panelist.
However she's connected, she might want to.
Yeah.
Just that.
Mr. Whiten?
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So who are we going to hear from first? Are we going to hear from Mr. Dare or Mr. White?
I guess it depends on if Cheryl's audio is working, but
Well, go ahead and tell us about the project and the basis for the need for 3 dwelling units.
Sure.
As opposed to the 2 that exist.
Yes. This is like you said already, it's a 2-family dwelling that we purchased this summer, and we realized there's a 3rd apartment that is in the building. It exists. Obviously, at some point, someone was living there illegally, and it's a nice size space. It doesn't really connect to the other 2 units in a way that would make sense to have it be a shared space for the existing tenants in this building. And we'd like to bring it, get it sort of legally operational, renovate it, make it nice down there, and provide a pretty affordable market rate unit for a neighborhood where rents are, rising pretty quickly.
Okay. What is the space? What are the dimensions of that space for this 3rd unit? How big is it?
I would have to check the exact dimensions. Hold on one moment.
Ms. Sedera, you are unmuted if you wish to speak.
Let me also just ask, while I have you, Mr. White, why is it not a suitable space to be used as common space for the other two units that exist.
There's no connection to the other two units. The entrance to the
Can you see if we can call in?
the entrance to the other two units is in the front of the home. The
Yes,
entrance to the basement unit is in the rear. And there's no, there's no easy access other than walking around half a block and into the back alleyway for tenants in the first, the top two units to get to the basement. Now the size of the space, we've got it estimated 606 square feet based on our plans.
And Ms. Sedera, I think we can hear you. There you are.
Yeah, okay. I froze for a minute there. Sorry about that.
All right.
Right. So I caught on just as John had started talking. So again, there is evidence that it was 3 units. So we just wanted to see if we could bring this into compliance with Baltimore City. The land use card, or the old cards that you referenced in the beginning, apparently they went out to get digitized and then we couldn't get them. But I am glad that you found that it was put for 2 units. We do have the multifamily dwelling license. One thought here, and GRIA was in support, that Remington is seeing a raise in rental units, like it's a trendy area, so the cost of rent is going up. And converting the bottom space and bringing it into compliance with a terrace level apartment, that would offer more of an affordable housing, as terrace level apartments tend to rent for a little less than ground floor, first floor units. So that would allow a tenant or resident in Remington that desires to stay the opportunity to, as rents continue to increase. As John mentioned, it's not very conducive to provide access from the first floor, and he does plan to improve the property. I think we're good, Ben. Thank you.
Have you met with any of the community associations?
GRIA, yes, we have the letter of support from the Greater Remington Improvement Association. The one request that they actually had of us was to leave the backyard as a green space, just because we're right across from the Johns Hopkins Facilities building. So there's plenty of street parking on the street, like parking's not an issue. So they were hoping that if we do go ahead with the third, we could get a parking variance as well and leave the green space and not pave the rear.
And we do have a copy of that letter. The letter from the Greater Remington Improvement Association is writing in support of the applicant's request to utilize the property at 3132 Remington Avenue. 1 one-bedroom apartment on the first floor, 1 one-bedroom apartment on the second floor, 1 one-bedroom apartment in the basement. We also requested the applicant seek a parking variance if required, and we would prefer the rear yard be maintained as green space in lieu of providing off-street parking. And it was signed by President Fong Lee and land use chair, looks like Jed Weeks.
So how would a resident of gain entrance to the back?
There is a door there from the existing apartment whenever that was converted, and there's a rough-in plumbing and kitchen. So there's a walkable full height door. It's taller than me, probably a 6-foot door.
So you expect this person would be parking on the street in the front?
Yes.
Yeah, they could park on the street in the front. There's also city zoned parking. There's like 2 or 3 spots available in the entrance to the alleyway. So like the little cut in that's perpendicular to the back alley, there's parking there as well. So that's even closer to the entrance of the back unit. But yeah, we assume that they would either park on the front, or if they happen to be like a student at Hopkins and without a car, they would just walk around.
Right. Many residents. Sorry, go ahead.
So you'd park in the front and then basically walk a half block and a half block to get in.
Yeah.
And a lot of residents that are going to live along this block probably won't have a car anyway. Again, it's rented to the 2 current tenants, actually. One's a student, one's a long-term resident. He's involved with Charmington's. Neither one of those have a car. It's very common for this neighborhood for tenants to not drive.
Do you live in Remington?
I do not.
Ms. Byrne,
Yes.
can you remind us what, if anything, the applicant has to show in order to
Um, to
obtain this variance?
essentially, they have a legal dwelling unit. They have a legal MFD. So it's not a conversion per se.
Right.
It would be an intensification of an existing multifamily dwelling use. And so it's
I'm sorry, Kate, you're broken up on that.
okay. All right, am I here? Am I back?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So because they have an existing multifamily dwelling, they have 2 dwelling units, it's not a conversion. It's essentially an intensification of an existing use. So what the board has to determine is whether or not they meet the variance standards, because 2,750 square feet are required. What's proposed is 1,534 square feet of lot area variance based on what should exist, and then they would need a variance to 3 off-street parking requirements. So we've got some support and we have some opposition as well. And I'm looking to see if there's any, I don't have anything in the chat, either in support or opposition, but I would go through the call-in users once they're done with their initial application.
Okay.
So it's essentially, it's the variance standard. It's not necessarily the use.
Got it.
One thing that we would still have to go through if we are granted by the board for the 3 apartments is the building would have to go through a fire, housing, and a multi-use dwelling inspection there, the building inspection. So we'll be bringing the building into full compliance. It's a little older and run down. So John would be essentially totally improving and making this safer for current residents.
You know, if it is a basement apartment, there has to be 2 means of egress from each one, or it would not be approved for use.
Right.
Right.
Right. We do have a window in the front that could be expanded upon. Again, it would be a full gut renovation in the basement to do this.
So you're saying that even if we approve it for 3 apartments, there's still a couple other, I guess, organizations that are more into the safety of the building than we are, that have to make. I have a question for you. If we don't approve you for it, or if, you know, at some point down the line, I guess it doesn't work out, what will happen with the basement apartment?
I don't really know. You know, it's the temptation would be to leave it, but it's not in. I don't actually think it's in good enough shape to leave as is. So I have to do something down there, and this is really the plan that seems to make the most sense to me, both to just get full use out of the building and you know, and all of that. I don't know what the next best option would be, honestly.
And you said it's already set up like an apartment. It's got the bathroom, the kitchen.
Yeah, it's got a bathroom that's there. That's got to be redone. It's got to be gutted, but they ran a shower. I mean, there's a shower in there, a toilet, a sink, and then there's plumbing for a kitchen setup.
Okay, thank you.
Did you say that someone could exit that apartment through a rear door? And then I thought I heard you say it also a window in the front.
Yes, the second means of egress would be a window in the front. And again, the window would be a full-sized window to go along with the renovation. I think the young lady that asked the question about what else could happen down there, if we don't get the variance and go through the approval to do the 3 1-bedrooms rather than 2, what he could do is ultimately add some more bedrooms in the basement, thus increasing the density of the property. So right now we want 3 1-bedrooms, so you would assume 3 tenants, 6 max. But if we were to put 2 or 3 additional bedrooms in the basement there, we essentially could have a 4 to 5 bedroom apartment with up to 10 tenants in the building.
Wait a minute, run that by me again.
So if we don't get the variance, one option to use that space and maximize John's investment could be to go ahead and try to find a way to connect the basement to the existing 1st floor apartment, which is 1 bedroom. And then we could put 3 bedrooms in the basement. And then essentially you might have, if you had 2 people per bedroom, we would be increasing the density. Whereas right now, we're just asking for, you know, one additional bedroom in the property.
And you wouldn't need our approval because it would still just be 2 units.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So actually, interestingly enough, in making it 3 units, you actually make it less density than if you might turn it into only 2 units.
Mhm.
Huh.
Less density and frankly, it will keep, I mean, it's 3 units and that allows me to keep, especially for the basement unit, the rent more affordable. I think if we have to turn something into where the first floor is connecting to the basement, that's going to be a lot more work and a lot more investment, and then B, it's it's going to be obviously more bedrooms, as Cheryl noted. So that would up the ask on the rent as well.
Didn't you start your testimony by saying that the basement cannot be connected to existing units?
Not to the, not to
Well,
the
not
both existing units, but it
right,
could
not
be connected to the one.
I think what they said was there's no easy way to connect them. They didn't say it couldn't be done. They said there's no easy way to do it with the way it's currently set up. At least that's what I heard.
Thank you, Sabrina. That's when I froze. I didn't catch that part.
Do you have any photos of the interior of the basement apartment?
I believe they sent it via email. I'll see if I can screen share, if that would, because I just got the email that was originally sent to Roxana. Let's see.
Kathleen, I could share my screen if I'm allowed to.
Let's do that. You do that rather than me. So I've handed you the ball to be the presenter, so you can screen share.
Oh, something's happening. I am still don't have the option to share.
It's a funny little way that you do it.
Huh, okay, here we go. Bear with me.
There you go. Starting.
But I don't know what you're looking at. Okay, that was the MFD license. It's working?
Sort of. We've got the MFD, so there we go. Now we can see your pictures.
Okay, so this is the 3 mailboxes on the front porch that have been there. This is what the first floor bathroom looks like. And these are just, for example, first floor kitchen. So you can see they're a little out of date, but I know you want to see the basement. So this is a laundry room that the tenant could have used.
Where is that?
In the
in
basement.
the basement.
This is a hallway. The gas furnace is back there. If you look right behind the dishwasher, that's the plumbing pipes for the kitchen. That's the rough in for a sink. That's an old dishwasher. And then the bathroom.
How many electric meters do you have?
2.
2?
Yeah. So
Okay.
at some point, somebody illegally did this apartment. And again, that's why we're here today. We just want to bring it into compliance and help keep, residents in the area.
Are there windows in that basement apartment?
All the way up in the front. I don't know if I have a photo of that. So ideally, yeah. So
There's a window in the front, and then there's one
in the rear here, John. I have it.
yes, and there's another one kind of along the side. There's a little bit of space between our building and the neighbors, and there's a smaller window in the basement along the side. It's kind of tucked back with some of the mechanical stuff right now, but one of the things I would be working with my contractor on is to, you know, figure out a plan to be able to have that window, you know, seeable by the tenants down there, because I think
Right, because it would have to be a certain size in order for you to even get your UNO for that level.
Yes.
How large is that window right now? The one in the front that you said to be used as an exit?
I do not have that information handy. What we want to do now is just to get the use permit, and then, you know, all of these safety reasons will be figured out when we get the occupancy permit. So John's going to be expected to have everything above board per guidelines up to code, but we can't even do that without the use approval.
Any further questions from the board?
No, I'm done.
All right. Anything you'd like to add again at this point, Mr. Dare, before we go on to the opposition?
No, thank you.
Okay, so we just have Miss Floyd's letter in the record.
Okay,
which
just the letter.
I read, but I will go through. We have, looks like 3 call-in users. So if you were here to discuss 2021-201-3132 Remington Avenue and you hear 2 beeps, please speak up. First caller. Okay, moving to the next caller.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, this is Joan Floyd. Thank you for calling on me. I wasn't able to see any of the things that were presented, but I was able to hear. And I think basically, you know, I didn't know the history of this property, but I think the new owners have just admitted basically that they don't qualify for this variance. They've said it's a basement apartment. They said it was an illegally converted space. And, you know, they don't meet the criteria. There's no uniqueness and there's no practical difficulty. And it's just a basement that somebody wants to convert into a unit. Those are all over the place. And frankly, I think that if people are listening to this, not just in the neighborhood, I mean, I'm on an R7 block. But if the people all over the city are on R7 blocks, and I think what they're going to hear is, you know, if somebody converts a basement illegally or starts to convert a basement illegally, somebody else is going to, you know, decide to use that as the basis for a variance. And it just isn't. That's really what I wanted to say. I mean, they haven't made the case for the variance. They can't really. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Ms. Floyd.
Anyone else?
All right, I'm going on to the next caller. If you wish to speak on this matter, please speak up. And that was our last call-in user.
Okay. Since we did hear from Ms. Floyd, Mr. Dare, you have a final word if you like.
Again, it's already been converted. We just want to bring it into compliance. So when John bought the building, you know, we had talked about going through this, trying to get the use corrected with the city so he could go on and work with his contractors and, you know, make the best use of his property and his investment in the community. And again, we would be like everything would have to be brought up to code and done correctly with inspections, permitting, that sort of thing.
Okay. Very well. Well, thank you for your presentation, and I'll take this up at the end of the deliberation.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay. Moving on to case number 2021-233, 804 Newington Avenue.
Can't hear you, James.
We're moving on to case number 2021-233, 804 Newington. Denzel Chin is the appellant. Let's see, to use the ground floor. Okay, and this is to use, wait a minute. This is regular case, right, Katie?
Yeah, it is, Newington is a regular.
Got it. All right, I thought I was reading the same thing. I know, Mr.
No, there's Mr. Chin is back to back. I did the same
Right.
thing earlier.
Got it.
2021, 233, 804 Newington Avenue, Daniel Chin. This is daycare and it's on the regular docket.
Got it. And this is the request to use the first floor of the premises as a daycare for 10 children and to use the premises as multifamily dwelling. So I'll hear from planning and staff.
Thank you. Planning Department has reviewed this application. The applicant is proposing a modest childcare center, which could be appropriate in this location. However, the Planning Department notes specifically that the rear yard of this property, which is currently basically unused, should provide an open air play area for children. But there is also a requirement that there is a need to serve off-street parking requirements of the dwelling units that are now in the building. The plans included with the application do not indicate how that rear yard would be divided between open air recreation space and parking. The department also notes that Newington Avenue is a street with some traffic on it, and there is not a location on this property for drop-off and pickup of children. Therefore, this could only be done if the staff of the daycare center assist with safe drop-off and pickup of children attending the daycare facility. For this reason, the department is recommending approval, subject to the condition that the daycare center provide appropriate separation of the off-street parking space in the rear yard from the open air play area for the daycare center. And the daycare center staff assist and manage drop-off and pickup of children to minimize obstruction of vehicular traffic on Newington Avenue.
Thank you, Ms. French.
Martin, one question. You're suggesting that the pickups be made in the rear yard?
No, we are not. We believe that the applicant intends to use the front door of the property as the entrance and exit for the daycare center. There was nothing on the floor plan that indicated they would be using the rear alley as a drop-off and pickup location.
So basically they'll have to double park in most instances?
Which is why we are recommending that if the board approves this, there be a requirement that the daycare center staff assist drop-off and pickup to minimize the amount of time that a car is stopped in front of the property.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just to mirror what Mr. French stated, we have requests for conditional use of daycare center. They would need a variance to off-street parking. 1 space is required. 1 space variance would be requested. We have opposition from Reservoir Community Association regarding noise, parking, traffic, and child safety. Petition was signed by 44 members of the community. Basically issues relating to no suitable drop-off or pickup area. The last authorized use for this property was as a multifamily with 3 dwelling units. Now, Mr. Chin was here earlier, and I don't see him in our list. So let me see if he's dropped off and is a call-in user. So Mr. Chin, if you hear 2 beeps, could you please speak up? I'm going to the next one. Okay. If you are here for 804 Newington Avenue, 2021233 as the applicant, please raise your hand or put in the chat that you are here as the applicant. Because we have people here ready to testify in opposition. And Simon, I'd ask you just to kind of help me peruse the list as well. Make sure I'm not missing him. All right, Simon's going to give him a call real quick.
Okay.
Oh, wait, here he is. He's popped back on. All right. Mr.
Can you guys
Chen?
hear me?
Yes,
Hi,
Mr.
how
Chen,
are
we
you?
can hear you.
Mr. Chen?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, sir. We're here on 2021-234, 1020, I'm sorry, 2021-233, 804 Newington. Can you tell us about your project?
So the goal is to create similar to an in-home daycare, but because it's not my primary residence, it had to be rezoned. In regards to parking, so there will be help with the drop-off and pickup. And as regards to parking, if there will no longer be a first floor tenant, so a spot would be available and opened up. In the plans, though, we did not plan on using the back alley at all for drop-off and pickups. It would just be enclosed as open space for the children's play area.
The street in front of the premises, is this a two lane? Is there traffic going both ways?
There is traffic going both ways.
So you believe that the staff assisting drop off and pickup would sufficiently handle any backups to traffic coming through there?
Yes, definitely. There's usually ample parking. I never have encountered a moment where parking was an issue there. Everybody usually has, they find a niche on the street. But yeah, I do believe that assisting with pickup, getting them in and out is relatively an easy thing to do. And I think there was another concern about noise.
I think the issues raised by the community were noise, parking, traffic, and child safety.
So it is a residential road, so there are speed bumps. It is two ways, but it's not a main road, or even really like a through street. You usually go either up or down. And as regards to noise, there's a school and another much larger daycare literally at the top of the block. One at the top and one at the bottom, and the hours of operation of the daycare would mimic that of the school and the other larger daycare 2 blocks away by the community garden.
Just for clarity, could you tell us about the rear yard parking space? Is that the one you're saying is assigned to the first floor unit, which would be the required first floor parking space for the daycare? Or is it open to other tenants who would remain assigned there?
That spot would just be used for play area. There'd be no rear parking. It would just be play area for the kids.
So there's no parking on the lot itself?
No, there's no parking on the lot now. It's a fenced-in backyard.
Okay, so you would still need a variance for 1 parking space? Yes.
I guess yes, if that's what planning has deemed necessary.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that we were all clear on the space.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Chin at the moment?
Yeah, I'd like him to explain how the use of staff would solve the double parking issue.
So what we would have is we would have several members to just help and assist the parents with getting the children out. So it wouldn't be like the parents would need to park. Well, the age group in which we're going to have is not going to be less than 2 years old, so the children will be able to walk. And so we would just have them meet them when they pull up. We would grab the children, their necessary bags, etc., and we would escort them into the house. And then parents could quickly go on their way to work, to their various jobs.
Well, how about the pickup then? How's that going to work?
It would be the same process. So they would give us a call ahead of time when they're on their way. We get their child ready. They let us know when they're outside. We bring the child to them in the mornings. They let us know that they're on their way. We'll wait at the door for them, come out, grab the child from the car, come right back in.
Thank you.
What are your intended hours, sir?
Normal work hours. So for the traditional parent, most people have to be work 9 to 5, so we'd be 7:30 to 5:30.
Okay. Right. I'm good if we're prepared to move through the opposition, or unless, Mr. Chin, is there anyone else here testifying in support of your project?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so we will move to, because you're calling in, Mr. Chin, I'm gonna have to mute you, but after opposition, I'll come back to you and unmute you.
Okay.
All right, so the first one is Tony Ayala, and I apologize if I am mispronouncing your last name really badly. Tony Ayala?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Good
I was
afternoon,
wondering, good afternoon, the board. I was wondering if you guys received our letter. We sent it to Kathleen Brain from the RHA with photos and additional information on the opposition.
Hold on 1 second, let me see if I have it in the file. We did leave reservoir, we did receive the petition and the letter. Second,
So the ones concerning sanitation, off-street parking, childcare center safety.
yes, we did receive that. And the board, let's see. All right, so we have, let me, 1 second. So we received the petition. I do not have photographs, however.
I have nighttime
Oh, wait, here
photographs.
we go. I'm sorry. I do have photographs. There should be photographs, I think, that the board received. There's pictures of the front, the back, some trash bags and trash cans. Yeah, so the board did receive that as well. And we also had another letter from a neighbor.
Yeah.
Let's see, that in homeowner, while also concerned about sanitation and issues around playgrounds. But let's see. We have a neighbor who is not in opposition to it. So
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So excuse me, is the letter from the Reservoir Hill Association signed by 4 people?
What I
You and Ms. Tamika Lee and
No, that was a letter of opposition from us. That's the one that has about 45 community members who are opposed and have signed the petition. Primarily people on the 800 block, which is the block in which they're trying to get the appeal for. So besides that's our community letter as opposed to the RHA Association letter that was also sent.
I don't see that one.
what I have is the RHA position letter.
We do have that?
We do. We have the RHA position letter with the photographs.
They both had photographs. Is this the one directed?
There's one dated November 1st.
Yes, exactly.
Regarding with the issues drop off and pick up, off-street parking and outdoor play, sanitation, childcare, safety, and pictures of the front, the back, and the sanitation.
Yep.
And
yeah, and then as well as the petition. I just wanted to make sure that you have all of the documentation.
we have the petition, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I guess we'll start from the top. In terms of drop off and pick off, I've been living here for about 5 years now, as well as some of the other members who are on the call. And I can say, as somebody who does live in this house and does park here, parking is awful. People are constantly double parked overnight. There are blocks on our block. There are blocks from people coming to drop off, friends, and there's constantly a traffic issue there. This whole neighborhood, there is a traffic issue. When Chin comes to pick up his mail, he also double parks. I see that on a regular day basis. So having a daycare, which is the primary reason why we got so many people to sign our petition, was because parking is so awful here. And also, according to the research that I have done, to my understanding is that for a child daycare, there needs to be either drop off in the back or at the rear. And this house is located in the middle of a block, so there is no option for them to drop off and pick up from the front or the back. In terms of sanitation, there has been multiple 311 complaints filed in regards to rat infestations, to trash being thrown in the back of that alleyway. I'm a next door neighbor, and my car has been damaged because of rats eating away at my wires. And that's primarily from those 3 houses at the end of the block, which people come and dump their trash there. It's definitely not a safe space for children to be playing around or in. Also, in terms of the child care center safety, it says it's about 35 square feet per child, which would be, if he wants 10 children, that would be about 300 the exterior space is only 580 square feet, which I don't believe is up to code as well. But it's just, there is an overwhelming voice of the neighborhood that we want to keep this as a residential neighborhood and not a place for business. We understand the importance of having daycares, and there are ample daycares in our neighborhood and around us. And just as a voice of our community, we think that the board should not approve this appeal. And I hope that the documentation states that. I also have 2 other people, or at least one other person on the call who would like to speak in opposition. I yield my time.
Thanks, sir.
Next caller in opposition is Tamika Lee. You're unmuted, Ms. Lee.
Yes, yes, hi. This is Tamika Lee. This is me and my partner, DJ.
Yes, hi. I got a question. When it comes to the safety of the kids, especially, and with the way traffic is on that road, one, people travel at a fast rate, higher than 30, 40 miles an hour on that road, 1, 2. So I would need Mr. Sheen to explain the strategy, how he hopes to use his staff to help ensure the safety of these kids, because I want to know how many staff he hopes to have and how they need to manage, how they're going to manage in case you have like 2 or 3 vehicles dropping off at the same time. What strategy does he have to manage the ingress and egress of those kids and their safety?
Okay, we'll leave that question posed, and Mr. Chin will get to speak when all the opposition is done. But your question is noted, and we'll give him an opportunity to answer that when his time comes again.
And
Okay.
is this Derek Jones who is speaking?
This Tamika Lee. This is Tamika Lee and DJ.
DJ, could we get a full name for DJ for the record?
Let me know when you're ready to copy, because it might cost you a lot of.
Oh, okay, so it's really long. All right, go for it. Just start spelling.
Okay, first name, Alpha, Delta, Echo, November, India, Juliet, India.
Got it.
You want my last name?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, last name is Alpha, Delta, Echo, Delta, Echo, Juliet, India.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we have, next one would be Derek Jones. When he said DJ, I thought, I wasn't sure if that was,
Right.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to make sure. I had to use my phone intermittently. I lost contact with my laptop. I'm Derek Jones. I live on Brookfield Avenue, which is basically Newington. It's the next street over. And I come that route out of my alley, making that right, going to Mount Royal to catch 83 or going to further into the city on a daily basis. And that area, the entire area, is extremely populated as far as new residents now. A lot of the older homes that hadn't been renovated are now renovated. So the population has increased. Also, the amount of vehicles has increased in the area to the point where there's also another petition going around for that immediate area so that we can possibly get parallel and diagonal parking rather. So I don't see how he could say that there's ample enough parking and also the ability for staff to assist with the children in and out of the daycare center. It's just impossible. I don't understand. I mean, there's parking at an issue. There's parking starting at around 6:30, 7 o'clock. It's like you can't get a parking spot. And it's not clear until like around 8:30 in the morning or so. And with more people working from home now, it's even more people staying at home with cars. So I just don't understand how the gentleman that's requesting the variance can say that there's no congested parking. And I would like the board to take in consideration that there's no speed bumps. As the gentleman had indicated just prior to me, cars do drive excessively fast. I wonder how the staff would handle that challenge. You know, it's an ongoing challenge. So that's all I had to say to support the petition against it.
Thank you, sir, for your input.
We have one more Community Association President, Keandra Pryor in opposition. Ms. Pryor?
Hi, good afternoon. I would like to either read the letter, but it seems like you have it on record. So I just want to emphasize the points that were made within the letter from the community that weren't mentioned so far. So I would just like to go on record to say the Reservoir Hill Association and our members really support high quality daycare opportunities in our neighborhood. However, we feel as if 804 is not a great location for a daycare center to provide safety and the security of the members of our community that would be attending that daycare center. And we also are concerned with the petitioner's ability to professionally support a daycare center at that location. As we've stated, the location requires not only parking for the existing units, so we're concerned that only one variance would be required when in fact there will be two dwelling units already there, in addition to parking for the folks that will be working at the daycare center. And then on top of that, of course, needing that 750 square feet of space per MSDE regulations for a daycare space. We just are not convinced that the petitioner is really keeping in mind the safety, security, and high quality daycare center that we would require for our neighborhood. And we understand that this would be great for the petitioner since they already own the property, but we really encourage the petitioner to find an alternative building if they are really dedicated to providing a really lovely, wonderful daycare center in the neighborhood. There are plenty of vacant, large properties in the neighborhood that need rehabilitation. That would be an amazing site for a daycare center for our residents. Unfortunately, the Reservoir Hill Association is not in the business to support development for simply for the financial sake of a petitioner. We're here to ensure the highest quality development in our neighborhood. And that means making sure that the residents have spaces that are safe and sanitary. So the fact that the petitioner already has on file a citation for sanitation, which we've included in our letter, evidence of those citations, already presents the issue that planning and development has already outlined of the really large quantities of waste that's produced by a daycare center. If waste isn't already handled by the 3 dwelling units, we're really concerned that waste will be handled when the petitioner suddenly has to handle the exponential amounts of waste that will be produced by the daycare center moving forward. Additionally, the petitioner did not provide enough information for us to see that the daycare center will, and of course this would be decided by MSDE or by the state itself as to whether or not a daycare center could exist within the premises. But the information provided by the petitioner in their letter did not really share enough information about the space usage for us to be able to see whether or not the internal space would meet the requirements of 35 square foot per student that he's trying to serve. But clearly the backyard space does not. And that is a regulation by the Department of Education and Maryland State itself. So those are our really big concerns after speaking to the neighbors who have already testified, who are in opposition because of their observation of traffic and the space for pickup and drop off, because of looking at the laws and regulations that Maryland State have outlined for daycare centers. And in addition, because of the reputation that Mr. Chin has with his current tenants and with his neighbors, we are not convinced that he shows the professionalism and thoughtfulness to have a daycare center at that site. But we do encourage Mr. Chin, if he's truly invested in providing a high quality daycare center, to look at other properties within the neighborhood that would allow for him to provide a proper site for a daycare center, and also encourage him to improve the current conditions in the dwelling units that exist on his property so that they're up to the standards of the Reservoir Hill community. So that's all that we have to say. Thanks.
And Ms. Lee put in the chat, I didn't give her an opportunity to speak. I moved on before, after DJ spoke. So we're gonna go back to Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee, you're unmuted.
I apologize. It's everything that Ms. Chandra said, and I have nothing to add to that. Yeah. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
All
So
right,
we're-
so based on where we are in the chat and based on where we are with hand raising, I believe that was it for opposition. So we'll go back to Mr. Chin. And Mr. Chin, you're unmuted.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, what else do you want to tell us, Mr. Chin, in light of this opposition that we've heard?
I hear a lot of the concerns. So I am also concerned with the trash in the alley. As I think Tony stated, that there are several houses that contribute to the trash that gets put in the alley. And as far as I was concerned, so this is going to be a family-run thing. Right now, it's zoned for free rentals, and so the tenants themselves are responsible for bringing their trash in and out for pickup. And I think that that leads to a lot of the issues. But when it becomes family-owned, we can have people come and remove the excess waste because no one wants to have their children their trash. The goal is that we can use the business to help us bring up the neighborhood, especially the back area of that neighborhood. There are issues there. And so that's what we were planning. A lot of people seem to have issues with the speed of traffic and things of such, and maybe getting with community leaders and maybe thinking of a better way to do drop off and pick up is definitely, I'm definitely available to rethink any strategy to make the daycare fit within the community. A lot of people talked about the square footage. Now the sign said 10 kids, but I've already spoken to MSDE and no one was incorrect about the 35 square feet or the 75 square feet. But if the back only allows for a certain amount of children, well, then that is exactly what MSDE would then regulate against the daycare. So if there was, Tony apparently took measurements and said 500 and whatever it was, they would divide that by 75, and then MSDE would then put the restrictions on how many kids were going to be there. Again, this was going to be a in-home type of Montessori feel for 2 to 5-year-olds. We wanted less than 10 kids. Somebody asked how many people we would have. We'd have around roughly 3 people, plus an afternoon helper. And again, this is just a family-owned thing. I think the term center is very misleading. It's going to be a very quaint Montessori, registered with the AMS Society type of just in-home daycare, because there is a need for just well-quality daycare. And I agree with Tony. The rats in the back are an issue, and it has to be picked up. But no one is actually picking it up, and I'm hoping to be able to use this business and use one of the guys around the neighborhood who has a pickup truck and a trash removal business and just pay him once a week to pick up the extra stuff and just take it to the dump, which can all be written off as a business expense. So it's really, how do we use this business to then help our neighborhood? But I do hear a lot of people's concerns about the traffic, and I'm willing to revamp the drop-off scenarios to help best accommodate everyone else. Again, I have no problem with being flexible. I have no problem with getting with everyone and making sure that it fits within everybody's purview for what we would like to have. But again, the 10 kids was just like a minimum of which I could say. The intention of this is to be an in-home daycare. I have 2 kids. I have 2 small kids. This is not for me, this is for them. And so we want to provide quality in-home education. We don't want another daycare center with 30, 40, 50, 60 kids, and kids aren't actually being met where they are and things of such. And so we just, we have a property. We used to live there. Tony said he's been there for 5 years. I've owned 804 Newington for 10, about a decade. So I am invested in the neighborhood. I've been there for 10 years. I'm not trying to just fix a house up and sell. And so I agree with a lot of the issues that Tony raised about the back being just crazy. And I'm thinking that this is a way I can help the neighborhood and help others around. So yeah, I think I answered all the issues that everyone raised. There were a lot back to back, so I'm trying to make sure I didn't leave anyone out.
Are you intending to work at this location at Newington, Mr. Chin?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
What is your background?
I've been an educator for about 13 years. Right now, I teach, I've taught at Poly. I teach math, high school math at that. Right now, I'm currently at Western. So I've been an educator, master's degree, childhood education, as well as went through all the certifications to become a daycare provider and a daycare director. So I have all of those qualifications, CPR certified, all of those things. I've just really been in education, childhood education, for pretty much my entire life. Newington, the background of me and Newington is Newington was just the first house that I bought. And I used to live there. And I just, as my family grew, we moved away.
Mr. Chin, technically, what is an in-home daycare?
An in-home daycare it provides child care services, but the director personally lives there. And
So-
so I wanted nothing about the building or anything. I wanted to be an in-home daycare, but when I met with MSDE and we spoke about it, they said, because it's not your primary residence, you would have to go under a small daycare center, even though everything you do would be synonymous with a in-home daycare.
Why did you reference the fact that, I mean, you said numerous times that this is going to be an in-home daycare center.
Well, no, this is going to be a daycare center. I just want to have it have that in-home feel. You know what I mean? Small group, small kids, you know what I mean? Personal attention, no more than a ratio of being like 3 to 1. I want that feel there at Newington. I don't want to have like a daycare center where the ratio is 15 to 1 or 10 to 1. And so when it's mixed age group, so that's what I was referencing. I'm referencing the feel for the organization itself, like the feel for the daycare. It's not going to be do you know what I mean? It's going to be a personable thing, a very tight knit, educational thing there at Newington.
Have you actually met with the neighborhood association?
I did not. So the day that I had to post the sign, they had that association meeting, I think the day before. And then when I looked it up, it's the second Tuesday of every month. And so we haven't gotten to the second Tuesday of this month yet.
Well, don't you think it would be appropriate, before the fact, to meet with the neighborhood association and try to solve these parking issues and sanitation issues?
I did believe it was appropriate, and so this is where I have to just take ownership of my own ignorance. Again, I am not some developer. I was not aware of, I wasn't even aware of this entire process. So this is me pretty much falling a little bit. Like I wasn't aware that I should have done all of these things and met with all these people. Really, I was just going through a process and almost doing what I'm told. Now I know that this is what it takes. Like I should have reached out. I should have timed it so that I could go to an association meeting and hear everyone and all of that. Just chalk it up to youthful hubris that I wanted to start an in-home daycare center. And so when I spoke to MSDE, they sent me, you know what I mean, and did that work with them. They sent me to zoning. And when I did the work with zoning, they told me the process. But this is more so like behind the scenes of the process. I wasn't really aware of fully everything it took. And I'm glad I'm learning. So like now I'll show up to these meetings on the second Tuesday of every month and hear concerns and be, you know what I mean? But I wasn't aware, and I really do have to just chalk that up to.
Well, do you think it might be appropriate to postpone a vote on this issue and then meet with the neighborhoods?
I'm definitely for that. I'm absolutely for that.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that, and I think it's maybe a wise move, because I can tell you, Mr. Chin, the parking issues seem to be pretty significant there, given the physical layout of the community and what it is we've heard regarding, at least from the community, regarding the parking issues. But that also, is very closely connected to the safety issues when you have basically double parking to allow folks to get in. Because when you got to put them back in, somebody's got to belt them properly and be sure they're secure in their safety seats and so on and so forth. So given that you're in the middle of the block, apparently, I'm not sure what avenues you have available to address drop off and pick up, but that may be something to be explored with the community and to see if you can all get on one accord. I do want to ask you, though, you obviously were here for another daycare center at 1020 Holland Street. What involvement, if any, will you personally have with that location?
So that would be my wife. And so, again, my wife had owned a property way before we met in our 20s, and we got married fast after we moved away. So we are starting a family-run thing. Newington would be where I would be, and my wife would be running Holland.
Okay. Well, how does the board feel about the request for, I guess, desire for postponement, at this point, to allow them to, again, talk with the community and see if they can come to some consensus?
I think we absolutely should do that.
All right. Thank you, Sabrina. I see your thumb.
I think it's fine if that's what the applicant wants to do. We should give them an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we do that? Mr. Chin, we will, I think one of the things that should be included in your time during this postponement is to attend one of those meetings with the community, or otherwise, make yourself available to those and
we did have a message from Ms. Pryor, who's a president of the community association, that they would love to meet with you. So
okay,
we
great.
need to definitely reach out to Ms. Pryor and the community association.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. Well, this matter will be postponed on this docket, and we can revisit the rescheduling of it. You can touch base with Ms. Byrne in the BMZA office, Mr. Chin, when you believe you're ready to come back to us.
Okay.
All right. Very well.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll move on. On the case 2021, I'm sorry, 2021-236, 633 Montford Avenue, Adam Carballo is the appellant. And this matter involves variance to bulk and yard regulations related to the construction of a fill-in.
Hey, James, you're all broken up again.
All right. Case 2021-236, 633
Much better.
South Montford. Adam Carballo is the appellant. This matter addresses variances to bulk and yard regulations related to the construction of a fill-in additions at first and second floor rear, an addition at the third floor rear, and a fourth floor addition. Seeking to use the premises as 3 dwelling units. Variance is sought required for off-street parking. I'll hear any reports from planning and staff.
Thank you. Planning Department has reviewed this application, noted that this property is located in the R8 zoning district, and that the record available to the Planning Department shows that the last use of this property was as a single-family dwelling. Zoning code provides that in the R8 zoning district, conversion of a single-family dwelling to a multifamily dwelling must be approved by ordinance. And therefore, the department recommends disapproval of the application because the zoning code does not authorize the board to approve conversion of a single-family dwelling to a multifamily dwelling in the R8 zoning district where this property is located. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French.
All right, to mirror what Mr. French just said, staff reviewed, tried to find the land use card. Land use card has this as a single family dwelling. There's nothing in the record that it was converted to a multifamily dwelling at any time. As Mr. French stated, this is an R8. In order to go from a single family dwelling to a multifamily dwelling, it must be done by ordinance. The BMZA does not have the authority to grant this variance request. In addition, we've received written opposition from Jonathan Danner, Joe Gibbison, and Michael Sonora, and we have individuals on the line who are prepared to testify in opposition. And I've made Mr. Carballo a panelist.
Thank you for allowing me to present. This property, although the record shows it as a single family, it actually is organized as a 3-unit. There are 3 separate kitchens, there are separate meters, there's 3 doorbells on the front of the building, 3 hot water heaters, and so forth. It appears that it was converted quite some time ago. I would say at least 25 or 30 years ago. And our proposal is, and if I am allowed to share.
So I've just passed you the ball.
Thank you. This is the property here. It's on South Montfort Avenue between Fleet and Foster Street. It's a very unusual shaped lot. It's an L-shaped lot. The lot itself is 2,526 square feet. In an R8 zoning district, 750 square feet of lot are required per dwelling unit, which divide 750 into 2526, 3.3 units would be permissible. Yeah, so we do have the lot size to support 3 units. Specifically, the existing structure is set back from the side property line, and we wish to infill that. We do not propose to go any further back. The goal of this redevelopment is to provide 3 separate condos to a property owner for sale. And the goal is to maintain this very generous rear yard, which is landlocked, for the use of the 3 separate units that would be at the property. So we don't actually plan on going any further back than what's already there. The existing is seen on the left. There's a common corridor that comes in. There is an existing 2-bedroom apartment on this floor, a bathroom in the rear, kitchen in the front. On the second floor, there is again another 2-bedroom apartment with a kitchen at the rear, and the third floor is a 1-bedroom apartment with a kitchen at the center. We are proposing to provide 3 2-bedroom units, and with the upper unit would have a penthouse that would be set back from the street. You can see from our setback, we're proposing a setback of nearly 31'7" from the front of the building. That would allow for a 2-floor duplex unit, and we would reconstruct the rear of the property to align with the existing exterior wall. If you can see, just our property is located, and I'll just zoom in so this is clearly seen. Our property is here with the red circle on it. We would maintain the front portion of this roof, and then the infill would be at the rear. If you notice, about 4 doors down, there is a more recently developed property that has a 4th floor that's much further to the front cornice line, and also has a 5th sort of penthouse above it. I'm not sure how this got approved. However, ours would not be anywhere near as tall. This would be an entire story lower than this other property, which is 4 doors down. And you can also see at the far end of the block, there is another property that has a 4th floor, as well as a upper penthouse, which really constitutes a 5th floor, just like this property in this immediate area. Unfortunately, Montfort, this property is completely landlocked. There is no ability for parking. So there really isn't an opportunity for that. And again, given that this property has been enjoyed as a 3-unit for as long as it has, we wish to continue that use. And with respect to the building height, we are much below the 45-foot allowable height as dictated by the conditional use.
Did you check the zoning card before you moved forward with this proposal?
We did. We found no records regarding the 3-unit. However, there are 3 meters at this property.
And how does that make it legal?
Well, the current use is not legal. Our attempt here is to bring it into compliance. And the meters, there are 2 meters in the basement. There's one on the main floor. They're not older meters. These are relatively new meters.
Did you meet with the neighborhood association?
We did. We met with Canton Community Association, Doug Kaufman's group, and they did, I believe they did submit a letter of support for this property.
I didn't see it. So in essence, you're asking us to make this a legal 3-unit building.
Correct. That is our request. And we also would like approval for the rear addition, the vertical addition that we're providing.
Well, what would you say to the reports from our agency and also zone and planning?
Well, that's what the record shows us as a single family. However, the existing conditions differ from that record. And BG&E would never have allowed 3 meters at this property, without some type of approval. I mean, these meters do exist. The building is existing as a 3-unit already. And like I said, and I'm testifying that it has been for quite some time.
Any additional questions for Mr. Cavallo?
Mr. Caballo, if you do have a letter of support, we don't have it in the record. Oh, wait a minute. Simon's telling me we do have it. I don't see in my file.
Ms. Byrne, can you speak to his rationale for this thing?
In theory, in order to get a meter, you should have an electrical permit. I think that's what his theory is, but I've looked at our permit system and there is no electrical permit, and our permit system goes back to 2004. We looked in the inspection history because if it was a multifamily with 3 units, it would have had to have been inspected by Baltimore City multifamily dwelling inspectors, and there's never been a multifamily dwelling inspection of this property by Baltimore City inspectors. So there's nothing in Baltimore City records. There we go. Okay, so there's the letter from Canton Community Association. There's nothing in the Baltimore City records that this was ever a legal 3 dwelling unit. So the existence of meters is one facet of proving that it was used as, but because we have no legal authorization from the city as a multifamily dwelling, and the way the zoning code reads, it's gonna be considered a conversion. Like, the board doesn't have the authority to do this, but the city council does.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's a different letter that I'm seeing in our files. I'm not sure if there's 2.
We have 2 from Canton Community Association. I'm actually on the next presentation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Do we have these Canton Association letters in our files?
Simon, you say we have the one? So we had a Canton Community Association for the next matter, but I don't see one for 633 South Montford.
I can forward you the email I received.
What is the next matter that you're referencing?
The next appeal. There's
The next appeal.
There's one more appeal left, and Mr. Carvalho is on that appeal as well. It's in the same neighborhood.
That's Essex Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
So what do we have next, Katie?
Now we have testimony in opposition. So I've
Right.
got Mr. Joseph Gibbison. Mr. Gibbison,
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Hi, my name is Joseph Guybeson. I live at 629 South Montford Avenue. I noticed this zoning appeal or kind of the note on the door, and I have four major concerns. Being a homeowner, I also have, excuse me, a young child. When I purchased my home at 629 South Montford with my family, we were excited about the fact that we did not really have any entrance points in our backyard. It looks like what the contractor is trying to do is create kind of a driveway through the back of Verde so that they would be able to get a parking pad or something back there. It's already a very kind of tight entranceway, so I would be a little bit worried about how a car could even get through there. But then also by opening up that backyard area, that would open up kind of an entrance point to my backyard area. And I have some concerns for the safety because often that's where a lot of break-ins occur in Baltimore. We've been a homeowner here for about 7 years. I have a young child. The amount of construction that it would seem like it would take to renovate all 3 floors, add a 4th floor addition, put a parking pad in the back. I'm worried about just the danger of that construction around my young child. For it to have 3 dwelling units, but it also has a 4th floor addition, I'm not quite exactly sure how that would work out, if there would be additional people that would be living there. And it doesn't seem like the parking pad that they're trying to put in the back would be nearly enough to have enough parking for everyone that lives there. Verde, the restaurant, is already a very popular restaurant. It takes up a tremendous amount of the parking in this neighborhood, and it would just be another parking headache for us that are already kind of live here and are, Baltimore City tax-paying citizens. Of course, the noise, I don't know how long this project would take, but it seems like it would take a tremendous amount of time to be able to pull off the renovation of this home and the parking pad in the back. So the noise would be something that would be a deterrent for many of the families that live around here from wanting to enjoy the neighborhood feel that we already have. And I am concerned with the 4th floor addition. We do have a water view with my rooftop deck that this would have a negative effect on the value of my home. So those are my major points that I would like to bring to the table and have recorded.
If I could address that, this is 2 blocks away from Verde. There is no parking pad being proposed. There is no drive aisle being proposed. This is
Do you mean 2 homes away from Verde? Or
2 blocks. This is on the 800. This is 600 block of Montford.
Yeah, Verde is on the corner of the 600 block of Montford Avenue.
I believe that's.
I've lived here for 7 years, sir. I know exactly where Verde is located.
Verde is actually located. This is not anywhere near Verde.
Verde is on the corner of Montford and Foster. If you are trying to build a 633 South Montford Avenue, you are
Well,
3 or 4 homes up.
Well,
Verde restaurant.
there is no parking pad being proposed. There's no drive aisle being proposed.
Okay, I thought that little dark gray area in the back was where you were proposed at putting a parking pad.
No, there is no parking pad being proposed.
Okay, all right. I
just-
apologize. Then
yeah.
I'm confused on that aspect. But then, my other concerns hold true. I'm just worried about, some safety concerns for my young child, as well as I am concerned about the overall noise. By having 3 dwelling units, that would create some parking concerns for sure by more people, instead of the single family unit that it is legally zoned as. And then I am worried about the negative effect on the value of my home.
Well, certainly an unrenovated property would not be something that you'd want on the block.
I would renovate it as what it's legally zoned as a family unit.
Well,
family unit.
there were individuals living in this property up until about a year, 6 months ago, actually. All 3 units were occupied, and certainly this building will be renovated, one way or another. Certainly the developer is Actually a Baltimore City resident, has done numerous projects, is a professional, and would certainly follow, health and safety guidelines for construction, regardless of what the scope of work is for the building. And we would certainly not put anybody in danger for a renovation, which occurs in properties all the time in this neighborhood as well as others. But we certainly hear your concerns.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm a little I'm surprised at the letter of support because I have not heard about any letter of support. The Canton Neighbors Association, nobody has spoken, as far as I'm concerned, to anybody that actually lives on the block. All of my neighbors that I have spoken to have voiced opposition to this appeal.
We met with CCA on October 11th at 6:30 at the regularly scheduled meeting.
Well, I can only speak for my neighbors on the block where this construction project would take place, that everyone that I have spoken to has voiced opposition.
Okay.
So did we decide where Verde is?
Yes, we know Verde is on the
Yes.
corner of Montford and Foster Avenue.
And I apologize, I got confused with another project that I'm working on the 800 block. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yes,
I mean,
it is on the same block as Verde, but case in point, we are not proposing any drive aisle or any parking pad. This is a 100% landlocked structure. There is no ability to get to the back of the property with any type of vehicle. And that is not we're not proposing that at all.
As a homeowner, you can see how invested I am in my community.
Mm-hmm. Well, you certainly don't want a vacant property on your block either. And that's currently what it is. We're trying to renovate and clean it up so that it is a contributing structure.
All right. Is that it for this gentleman, or do we have anyone else?
We have several other people that wish to testify in opposition. Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got the next person I'll call will be Samantha Burr.
To follow up?
Ms.
Okay.
Burr, go ahead. You're unmuted now. We couldn't hear
Okay.
you just before. Go ahead.
Not a problem. So I'm going to follow up on that landlocked conversation and with these drawings. I am a current resident of 617 South Montford. The landlocked thing is exactly where we're having the problem with the parking, unfortunately. And while, yes, I know you can say that this has been a 3-dwelling residence all this time, I wasn't aware, and I don't think it should be. That 600 block is incredibly unique to all of the surrounding blocks, even within, our own neighborhood, in the sense that we're landlocked behind us, so we don't have the opportunity to do carport parking. The streets that abut us on each side, South Bradford and Southport, do not have parking as well. Southport has no parking. I'm sorry, has one side parking. South Bradford has no parking. So we're already competing with 3 streets just on the 600 block for any parking for the residents. We currently support 2 very active businesses. Grapevine Hair Salon is at 601 South Montford. So that end of the block gets their employees and their customers all day taking up parking. Verde, again, a very popular casual sit-down, dine-in restaurant. We already allocated 2 spaces for them to use for valet during the evenings. But again, we're losing parking to them all the way up until at least 11 o'clock at night for their very busy employees and customers. So while I completely respect that somebody wants to take this property, which really is in disrepair, the front of it is bowing out. It really needs some work done, and I appreciate that. But I'm not especially happy about adding a 3rd business to this block. And unfortunately, 3 apartments that is a non-residential dwelling for the owner constitutes a business for me. So that's it. I'm sorry, I'm done.
All right. And moving on to Jonathan Danner. Mr. Danner? Okay. Mr. Danner? Let's see. Sir, I see you have your hand raised and you should be able to speak. It keeps flipping mute versus unmute. Now you should be able to speak, sir. All right, Mr. Danner, it appears we're having some trouble with your audio. If you could put in the chat what you would like to say, and we'll try to come back to you as well. In the meantime, I will move to Michael Sonora. Mr. Sonora?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I also have video too if you wanted to stream that. So thanks for allowing me to attend. My name is Michael Sonora. I reside on 621 South Montford Avenue, and I'm here to voice opposition to 2021-236 for the following reasons. I got 7 of them. So my wife and I, we moved here a little less than a year ago. The big selling point for our house was the view from our deck. And we feel that if this project, if completed, it's going to obstruct one of the better views that we've got. It was our selling point for us. Considering the fact that if we did not have this view, we probably wouldn't have bought this house. I would argue that my property value would drop as well for a lot of my neighbors. Second point I want to bring up, we have a severe parking problem, which has been brought up several times. The notice on the front of the building says that there was going to be some sort of parking structure. So I don't know if that is, or parking pad. I don't know if that was a misprint or if that was an error, but there isn't going to be an opportunity for any type of parking pad. With 3 units, that is going to really make parking more of a nightmare than it already is, considering the fact that each unit may own more than 1 car, and also considering the fact that they may have visitors or other roommates. We can have upwards of 6 or 7 cars for that 1 space, and parking is already a mess over here. So I would object to it on those grounds alone. There's also, okay, so personally, I don't have any guarantee from the landowner that the property will be adequately cared for after a few years. So upkeep of a multi-tenant building over a period of time, I would assume, is not cheap, where the incentive to do so will decrease over time once a break-even point in profit has been achieved. So if after 5 or 10 years, if that property starts to look worse and worse and worse, I worry that there will be very little incentive to fix it up. Adding on to that point, once this residential home has been converted, the single unit has been converted into a multi-unit, there's absolutely no going back. And I know that the argument that there are 3 meters there would allude to the fact that it has been a multi-unit in the past before. You know, unless there are any legal papers in front of me saying that this was legally a multi-unit establishment, I don't buy it. Having worked for the federal government, especially in our defense, just because there is physical evidence that something was done in the past does not mean it was done with the proper authority and with the current paperwork in place. Also, it was commented by the gentleman that the current condition of the house is pretty bad. So while yes, while that current condition of the house has been bad, there have been potential buyers in the past with the intention to completely redo that property. Sadly, these buyers were beaten out by the competition by the current owner, who was willing to put down significantly more money on an offer because of an intention to make a profit. If the owner is unable to complete the intended profit, the house as it stands can still be bought by private residents who are willing to remodel the home. And my final point is that this is more of a personal experience, but having lived here for only 1 year, the community for this neighborhood has been amazing. We have several neighbor friends. They look out for us. We look out for them. It's been an amazing place to live. Friendlier than the last state I have lived in. However, a complex with several tenants on a single lot will by nature attract people who are uninterested in contributing to what makes this community particularly great. Residents will be less inclined to stay for a longer period of time or get to know us as a neighborhood. Having gone from apartment to apartment and unit to unit with my wife in the past until we were able to purchase a home, this has been the case for us. We want people to come to our neighborhood who will add to the community and to the diversity and to add something into our lives. By having residents who only own airspace and are in close quarters with each other will at best only be inclined to interact with the people in the same building. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, sir.
If I could address that, our intention is to actually have 3 condos here. They will be listed for sale. This is not a rental property that is proposed. So the people that would purchase these units have just as much sort of financial input to the neighborhood as any other homeowner on the block. Further to that, this building is going to be a full story shorter than the property at 623 to 625, which actually has not only a 4th level, but a 5th floor penthouse. So I don't see, as you can see on my screen, there are a number of taller structures along this block. We're not going to be proposing any height that is anywhere remotely near these 2 other properties that are much taller. I believe the property owner is also on the line who may want to say a few words, Garrett.
Okay, Mr. Danner did put in the chat earlier a long chat. So in light of the fact that we can't seem to get his audio to work, I'll just state it really quickly. It says, my name is Jonathan Danner. I live at 635 South Montfort Avenue. Next door, they're pushing for a renovation I do not approve of. I'm all for people upgrading their homes, but the new construction will affect the community in several negative ways. One, it will drastically affect the amount of public parking on our street. We have limited amount of public parking. That is something we all knew moving in. However, a 3-family home would create significant burden on already taxing parking situation. 2, most of us here use a tax credit for our homes and generally stay within the historic guidelines to keep the character of our community intact. Be the only home in the area that will be zoned for multifamily living. This will affect the whole community and property value and way of life. If we allow them to start this construction, we'll open the floodgates and completely change the community. We would all have to acquiesce to someone who doesn't even live in the neighborhood, causing a level of gentrification for all of the actual residents in the community. This will make all of us homeowners compete with people who have the means to build giant buildings and take away from the rest of the community without feeling any harm that they would be causing. 3, it'd be most significant. It would be the most significant construction I've seen in this community. Stated previously, I completely understand people wanting their working on their homes, and if there's a family remodel, I would feel differently, but this is a major construction. They're adding a 4th floor, extending the back of the house. It will take forever to finish and will make the property one that can never be single family home again. The noise alone will be insane, but as the only neighbor that shares a wall with them, I'm very concerned about the safety of putting so much strain on our dividing wall. And 4, I have talked to a lot of my neighbors, and anyone I talk to is against the proposal. However, putting the hearing at 1 p.m. on Wednesday is frustrating many of our community work at Hopkins, and putting it at an inconvenient time means that they must take time off or shift their schedules just to voice their concerns. Thank you for your time. So that was Mr.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Once again, do we or do we not have the authority to move forward with this, which would create 3 dwelling units?
You do not.
Well, I don't see of the testimony then. Hello?
We lost you for a minute there, Bill.
Well, I was done. I don't see why we're moving on with testimony when we don't have an authority to approve this.
That is a valid point. I mean, we will obviously take it up at the end. If that's the legal conclusion that we have, then that's what it is.
That per the staff report, it's, and per planning's report, we do not believe that the board has the legal authority to grant this because it's going from a single family to a multifamily, which would be a conversion.
Okay. All right, well, we're here. We've substantially, I guess, exhausted the testimony. Is there any other testimony that's outstanding?
I think I have one other person in opposition via William Todd, and then I think Mr. Carbello said that the owner is on the line. And then we have one more after this, which would be the Essex Street is the last contested case.
Yeah, understood. So we're in the case. We're make a decision on it. Let's complete the record and at least get the testimony on the record and move forward.
Okay, so Mr. Todd, I'm unmuting you, sir. Are you here in opposition for this matter?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Good evening or afternoon. Yeah, I have the same concerns that my neighbors have as we've spoken. Parking obviously is very much an issue. And, you know, I tell my neighbors as it is, we're potentially with a 3-unit, you're potentially adding 6 additional cars to the neighborhood. Figuring most people are a 2-car family. You know, I make it known that you can knock on my door if you need 2 inches to move your car. So that's the kind of community that we are. Everybody helps out, moves their cars when they can. As for 4-story unit, the units that he makes reference to are, to my knowledge, are 3-story units with a bump out for 4th. There's only 3 stories of living space. They're not true 4 stories living space. And that does concern me if he's going to want to create a 4th story that is a livable space versus the properties he's pointed out to me are bump outs for decks or a wet bar up there. They're not livable spaces. So I am concerned about that. I live at 622. You know, my view and the potential for blocking it, I agree with my neighbors. You pay for the view. You've done renovations to your houses, and we don't want to see anybody go any higher than what's already been zoned or allotted. The fact that it doesn't have true documentation for being a 3-unit dwelling does concern me. It's been quite some time since I've actually seen people going in and out of the unit, but you know, I am concerned and really not for that type of zoning. That's about all I have right now.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. And Adam, who was the owner?
Garrett Adler.
Karen Adler?
Garrett.
Garrett. Okay. All right, Mr. Adler, you are unmuted.
Hi, good afternoon. I just wanted to add that regarding the construction of the project, we're very experienced in the construction business. We've been doing it for over 15 years. We're able to do the project in very high quality manner and in a manner that is not disruptive, you know, that's as minimally destructive to the area as possible. Certainly following all the health and safety guidelines that do exist. Regarding the parking, I would say that the Canton Community Association is supportive of projects with limited parking for the benefit of more public infrastructure. I'll also say we are following the zoning code with the lot size being 4,500 square feet. We're allowed, you know, the zoning code is allowing 750 square feet per dwelling unit, which we do, which we're conforming to. And
I have a question.
sure.
So what happens in the event that you don't get the third unit? Will it still be a 2 or unit, or does it have to be 1?
I think what is being said here is that it has to be a single dwelling unit. It's quite large with all the land area that it has.
You said what?
It would be a very large single dwelling unit
Yeah.
if we're unsuccessful.
And whether or not you are successful in this appeal, there's still going to be construction that happens, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
But there is the possibility to have a single family with 5 or 6 bedrooms at this property. We
I
wouldn't
understand.
necessarily have a limit on number of bedrooms.
Gotcha.
Right. It's wider than the rest of the houses on the street on the block.
I can see that in the photo that's there right now. Okay.
And as Adam said, there's many units with fourth floors that are fully developed on the property. So there is limited site views for third floor roof decks anyway.
The fourth floor and the roof deck are not connected to the number of units. That's something that is independent of I think
That's correct.
that what we don't have documentation for is the making this a multifamily unit, but that doesn't stop construction on it, and it doesn't prohibit another level or a roof deck.
Correct.
That's correct.
Being that it was currently used as 3 units, our intention was to keep it as 3 units. We just wanted to make it condos instead of apartments.
Are we there?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so I think that's it for the opposition, and then Mr. Adler, I guess, and that's the rebuttal.
Okay. That concludes that. We'll take that one up. Moving on to case number 2021-238. 2208 Essex Street. Mr. Caballo, stay with us, you're the appellant. And this addresses a variance to bulk and yard regulations related to the construction of a 4th floor penthouse. Now here, reports from planning and staff.
Thank you. Planning Department has no comment on this specific application except to note for the applicant's benefit that the design of the 4th floor penthouse, if it's approved, will be subject to design review by the Planning Department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, this is a project to construct a 4th floor penthouse addition in an R8 district. 2 requests here. The first one is a variance to a minimum rear yard setback. 20 feet is required, 15 feet is proposed, so it would be a 5-foot variance. Now there's a building height issue, and the way that the zoning code reads it, it's a conditional use to a maximum building height. So the maximum building height is 45 feet. 45 feet is what is proposed, and it's a conditional use standard to allow the individual to get to the maximum of 45 feet. We have letters in support and we have letters in opposition for this particular matter. We have a petition that was submitted from Carbello Architecture of neighbors who are in support. "21 signatures on the petition of neighbors in support. We have the letter from the Canton Economic Development Committee, has met with the property owner and the architect via Zoom. Let's see, it looks like they support, after review, they support the request to increase the height of the building to add the 4th floor. We have a letter from Steve Paxton, Keller Williams, who also wrote a letter of support, asked for their professional opinion about the proposed immediate addition. And we had, let's see, an email from Paul Barbero, who signed a contract with the owner of 2212 Essex Street to purchase 2212 Essex, and they wanted to go on record, let it be known that they support the owner of 2208 Essex petition for a variance exception. We have opposition from Scott Ives. And let's see, they have a neighbor that he's given permission to read his letter into the record. But essentially, Mr. Ives has a 5-point letter here. He, let's see, owns 2212 Essex next door. And let's see, cites the code sections, doesn't necessarily meet the standards for uniqueness. He believes that it will be injurious to others as a property owner next door, sitting on his rooftop deck and enjoying 360-degree views that will then block it. It will diminish and impair the values in the neighborhood. He believes that as well, because of that 360-degree view. And let's see, and says that he was not reached out personally to by the applicant. I have a Bianca Conti as well, letter in opposition. Let's see, she cites 5-308, 5-308.41, that it shall not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the other properties in the immediate area. They again also have a common deck from the petitioner, and they sit on their rooftop deck that would obstruct their views, have a negative impact on their use of their property. It would diminish and impair their property values, as it would as well reduce their view. So Mr. Carvalho is here for the applicant.
Thank you for letting me present again. I'm happy to report this is a single-family house. It's going to remain a single-family house.
Oh, we all agree. Okay, great.
So let's get that right out of the way. If I can present, this is the property in question here. This is 2208. And as you can see, these were built as a group of, I believe, 3 or 4 houses. They were built in the early 2000s. We are a middle of group property. The end of group actually does have a 4th story, and not to make anybody dizzy, but as you can see on the tops of these properties, there are existing 4th floor dog houses that provide access to rooftop decks. So the existing heights of these buildings are already at 43 feet. And as you can see, there are really nice views of the harbor. From this vantage point, there are obviously some taller structures, sort of around the immediate area. But we are proposing to add, an additional 2 feet with a penthouse at the rear of the property. These properties are very unique in that when they were built, and I believe there was 4 of them that were constructed at the same time. Here, and I'll share my presentation. You can kind of see our property is here. They're 3-story houses. The ground floor is an office space and a garage. The garage is accessed by a shared driveway at the rear of the property, and the main level is living room, kitchen, and dining room, and the 3rd floor are 2 bedrooms. These homes are not as deep as they appear. They seem very opposing when you're on Essex Street, but when you go into them, they're not very deep, and they're only 2-bedroom. They're 2-bedroom homes, which really isn't conducive to a family or to support families. Our property owners, they purchased the property prior to them having children. They currently have 2 children, and they're just running out of space. They love the neighborhood. Their children go to school in the neighborhood. They have, you know, great friends in the neighborhood. They want to stay in the neighborhood. And really the only way they see to do this is to provide a third bedroom so that their children can have the independence of having their own rooms, especially with virtual schooling now, when they're both going to school. It's very difficult for two children that are of opposing grades to sort of coexist in the same room. So they're desperately trying to find a way to provide a third floor, or excuse me, a third bedroom. And the solution that we came up with would be to add a penthouse. As was previously stated, this is a conditional use variance, as per the bulk regulations for R8. You know, with a interior lot that adjoins a right-of-way of at least 30 feet wide, which Essex Street is a 30-foot wide right-of-way. We also are an interior lot. We are allowed with a conditional use to go up to 45 feet, which is what our request is. You know, as you can see, this is our property. The proposed fourth floor addition would be set back from the front of the property. Again, there already are obstructions in the way of a doghouse. There's three doghouses already. And we would simply be providing an additional bedroom and bathroom, as well as a sort of a TV room or a living room on this fourth floor. This addition would be, just so I have it correct, would be set back from the front of the property by 15 feet. So it would give, you know, plenty of setback as required and still remain underneath that 45-foot height limitation. If you see in the immediate micro, you know, sort of micro area, this is the fourth floor at the end of the block. You can see here the shared driveway that leads to the parking from the rear. This is off Fleet Street. And this specific part of, you know, sort of Canton, it's very, very hilly. So Essex Street is quite a bit lower than Fleet Street beyond it. You know, and there are, you know, numerous examples of this type of construction. Just you know, 2 blocks over on Chester Street, again, you know, new construction, 3-story houses with a 4th floor bump out. Again, similar in that the ground floor is utilized for parking. The main level is for living room and kitchen, which really only allows the 3rd floor for bedroom space. You know, almost requiring the penthouse to provide that 3rd bedroom to attract a family purchase, a family buyer. Again, here there's, you know, other examples. Again, a single block over at the corner of South Patterson Park, and I believe this is Fleet as well. Again, a 3rd floor, a 3-story building with a 4th floor penthouse, and you know, so there's numerous examples of this in the immediate area. With respect to our community engagement, we did reach out to numerous neighbors, and we did get a petition for support for nearly 21 adjoining neighbors. We met with the Canton Community Association, who also provided a letter of support. I believe the neighbor at 2212, I believe Mr. Ives, actually moved to Florida in July, and is still for some reason opposing this project. The purchaser of his previous property or previous address takes ownership later this month and is actually in support of the project. So I'm not sure if that he's technically still the owner, but doesn't really have a dog in the fight, so to speak, and his purchaser is actually in support of this project. That's the project, sort of in a nutshell. And I do know that the homeowner would like to speak as well, but I'll
But do you want to go ahead and do that now? And the homeowner is
Anya.
Anya Capola.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll make her a panelist now.
So,
Ms.
can
go
you
ahead.
Okay, great. Um, okay, I think, okay, great. Thank you, Adam, and thank you, members of the board. I don't know how you do it all day long. Boys, come over here, you can stay with me. I have the whole family here, and thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak. I'm the owner of 2208 Essex Street, and I purchased this house in 2008 as a single professional. I'm now married, and I live in this house with my husband and our 2 kids. So I would like to speak of a practical hardship to my family. Like Adam said, we have a 3-story home, but our almost entire first floor is our 2-car garage. Our kitchen and dining room and living room are on the 2nd floor, and it's all open space. There are no dividers here. And our 3rd floor has 2 bedrooms. 1 bedroom is for me and my husband, and 1 bedroom is shared by our kids. So the kids are now 5 and 9. They are on completely different schedules. They have different habits. They wake up at a different time. They go to sleep at a different time. They attend different classes. When one of my kids they both go to Hampstead Hill Academy, which is a wonderful zoned school. So we'll need to live in this neighborhood to attend Hampstead Hill Academy. When one of my kids is sent home because there is a COVID case in this class, they're both at home with earphones on for hours every day. So it is extremely, extremely difficult. It affects their academic success and also their mental health, because you can't wear earphones all day long. We're very vested into this community as a family. We love it, and we want to stay in our home. We really love our home. We built our life here. My kids' doctors are here. They attend local schools. Our best friends live on our street. And we have 21 neighbors from Essex Street, from Fleet Street, from behind us, from in front of us. My immediate neighbors with whom we share a wall, they support us. So the 2204 signed our support letter, and the new incoming owner of 2212, Paul Barber, he also supports us. So they're moving in on November 29th. In conclusion, I would like to assure you that if you grant us our variance, you will retain a wonderful family in the neighborhood. And most importantly, by approving our application, you will demonstrate that you care about keeping Baltimore families and kids in the city, and that you do care about their growth, development, and success. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, I guess if there's no questions from the board, I know we have people here in support. So if you sit tight, I'll pull Ms. Kim DeBarge. Ms. DeBarge?
Yes, hi. I do have camera also, if that's helpful.
Okay. Sure. You can turn your camera on.
Sure. Hi, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So my name is Kim DeBarge. My husband is Paul Barbo, and we are the incoming neighbors in 2212 Essex. We're currently under contract, and we close in less than 2 weeks. So Anna, we look forward to being your neighbor. I'm just here to echo some of the things that Adam and Anna have said. You know, we chose Baltimore City at a time when so many people are leaving the city for space reasons. We have no objection to this addition. And, you know, once I beat breast cancer, should my husband and I decide to start a family, we may find ourselves in the same space crunch that Anna and her family are in. The previous owner, Scott Ives, you correctly said, Adam, has been in Florida since July, and he will not be the owner of our home in about 10 days. So I'm not really sure what Scott's opinion has to do with our neighborhood. I'd also like to touch on something that was said in a previous piece of testimony. You know, you had somebody on Montford who mentioned that people who rent don't get involved in their community. It has been a dream of mine to be a homeowner since I grew up with a single mother in Western Maryland, and I'm about to buy my first home. It's not my husband's first home, but it is mine. The concept that people who rent are not involved in their community is rooted in racism and classism, and I hope that you will never take a comment like that seriously on such a hearing. That being said, I am here as a current renter and almost new homeowner, and my husband and I have been in Canton off and on for 15 years. As Anna mentioned, you know, these homes really only have 2 floors of livable space. The first floor is thankfully a garage. I hear a lot of people who inexplicably move to the city but still complain about parking. That's not going to be an issue with additional construction or additional family members in these homes. It's literally just giving a family more space. I'm somewhat sympathetic to the concerns about people, quote unquote, losing their water views, but A, that's a risk you take living in the city. B, I'm sorry that you bought your house on the backside of the community. And C, I lived in Federal Hill for a long time in college and after. I never saw the city decline a permit request for construction based on somebody losing their water view. It's unfortunate, but it's part of what happens when a city is actually growing and the people who live here are putting money back into their city instead of taking it out to the county. So for those reasons, I firmly support Anna's request, and I find it unreasonable and short-sighted for folks to be implying that somehow their need to have a water view deck somehow trumps the needs of families who want to live, work, and play in Baltimore City.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Mr. Carballo, Ms. Carballo, do you know of anybody else on the line who are here in support? I do know we have some in opposition. All right, so we have in the chat. Hold on one second. In the chat, we have Michael and Yan Hamaka appeal. In the interest of time, we'll voice our support via chat. We are friends and neighbors of Anya's family here in Canton. We are in a similar situation with 2 children, only 2 bedrooms. We understand the difficulties and limitations this present. Anya has a wonderful family, and we want to keep families as such as theirs in the city. So that was another chat in support. Do you know of anyone else before we move to opposition?
I don't believe there's anybody else in support.
Another person, Jill Krause,
Sorry.
she said she sent a chat. She was in support as well.
Okay.
And if I might also address the rear yard setback, I believe we didn't mention this earlier. 15 feet in lieu of 20. The existing property rear property line is actually 15 feet away, so we're just aligning with the existing. So just to place that on the record, there would be no change of where the rear building face would be if this construction was approved and supported.
All right. I don't, let's see, I've not found her chat yet, but we have, so that, I'm sorry, state the name again of the person who was here in support.
Jill Krause. Jill Krause, we have her signature on our letter of support. She lives on Essex Street.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's good. All right, then I will go ahead and we will go ahead and move to opposition testimony. Hold on, let me see. There's apparently something last here in the chat. Yeah, that one. Hold on one second. Simon, yeah, that's the one that I read. Yep. Okay. All right. So let's see. We'll start with it's Nicole Folks, I guess. Ms. Folks? I think you're in here twice, so let's try the other one. This could be me just being a poor driver here. There we go. All right. All right, Ms. Folks? All right, I'm gonna do the other one, see if I can unmute the other one. Ms. Folks?
I'm not Ms. Folks. Can you hear me?
I can, and
So
you can,
I'm Jeff Folks. I was under folksjd@live.com.
okay, because it's just, I've got two Folkses coming in here. All right, so we'll start with you, sir.
Oh, I was hoping you start with my wife, but okay.
Well, I mean, I can, if you'd like, I'll give her a shot, all right?
Yes,
All right,
please.
all right, hold on one second. Let's go, let's try the other one. Let's go back. All right, now, Nicole Folks, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I kept saying, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello. Thank you for your patience. Right now, I'm not either in opposition or in support. I just have questions because Mr. Carvalho, he said they reached out to all the neighbors, and we live 2 doors down, and no one reached out to us. In fact, my husband spoke with with Anya's husband and asked for a copy of the plans. We never heard back from him. We never heard back from Anya. I see Anya on the sidewalk when she's watering her flowers out front. Never, ever, ever did she mention any of this to me. So I did see a copy of that petition, and it was interesting because people on Cambridge Street and people who were far away, I believe there was only one adjacent neighbor who signed that petition. We were not even approached. So I don't understand why that happened and why Mr. Carvalho would say that all of the neighbors were approached. That's just not the case. And in fact, we reached out to the property owner's husband and we still never heard anything back from them. Also, I wanted to point out that the drawings are incorrect that were submitted. On the first page, the location of our residence is in the incorrect spot. Our property, it was built in 1840, and we remember when all 5 houses were built. It was not 4, it was 5 houses that were built together on 100% lot coverage. It's formerly a gas station, and the developer built the 5 houses all together. Our house actually projects forward into Essex Street, not way back as that one plan shows. And if you go further back into the drawings, the last page of the drawing has our house really low where it looks like we're facing the adjacent property to the north wall. And that's not the truth. When we are on our deck, we can actually see the appellant's deck. So the view, we would definitely see this addition. There's no question about that. So the drawings are incorrect that were submitted in regards to our neighborhood. Another issue I wanted to bring up was I've heard the Canton Community Association reference. This property is very well squarely in the Fells Prospect Community Association. And this development was not brought to the Fells Prospect Community Association's attention, and I would have liked to have seen some communication with the correct community association. Another question I had was there was reference that this is only a 2-bedroom house. The 3 houses after the first one on the end, the 3 houses are identical. And the house that Mr. Ives is selling right now, prior to Mr. Ives purchasing that property, it was a family of 4 that lived in there with a boy and a girl. They were both like elementary school age. The boy lived in the downstairs bedroom on the first floor, which a lot of people use as an office. And then the girl lived on the 3rd floor, and then the parents lived in the back room on the 3rd floor. I've been in the appellant's house and I've seen the doors on that room on the 1st floor. To say that it's only a 2-bedroom house is somewhat misleading because there is a room on the 1st floor. It's not just, as the appellant said, it's not just the garage. There is a room on the 1st floor that others have very easily used as a bedroom, as the tenants that used to live next door did for quite a while with a son, and then their daughter was upstairs. And then I had a question. my understanding is that the appellant will use the house as a daycare, and I wanted to ask if this addition had anything to do with expanding her daycare that she has in that building, in that house. So those are just some of my questions. I just can't believe that we were never approached, even though I see them, that we weren't reached out to. When I saw the petition with the addresses, I hope the board gives it the weight it deserves. It does not have the impacted people on that petition. And to my understanding, the people in opposition were not contacted. And I don't understand why we were not contacted when somebody 2 blocks away was contacted.
Thank you.
Excuse me. What was the information you noted about a daycare?
Well, that's my question to the appellant, because I've seen people dropping off, picking up children in front of her house in the past, and I didn't know if this was some sort of, I have no idea what her business is. I don't ask, but I just don't know if this has to do with trying to make more space for that.
May I speak to that?
Yeah, since the question's on the table, go ahead.
Okay, let me address first is there are 3 issues it seems like here. The first, daycare, there is absolutely no daycare at this house. I am a mom and I have 2 children and we have a lot of friends. Our best friends live in Essex. Their children come here for play dates. My children go to their homes for play dates. Every mom that has children knows that children go to each other's homes to play. There is a phrase, it takes a village to raise a family. What I have here is a unique situation. I have been in this house since 2008, since I was a young professional. I have so many friends. Since 2008, my girlfriends met their husbands, they got married, we all have children, and we're still friends. We support each other. My husband is a merchant marine and a U.S. Coast Guard volunteer. He's at sea for more than 50% of his time. And I'm talking about at sea, he's ocean-going captain. He is away. So my family lives in Europe. His family lives in the Galapagos Islands. We're not fortunate to have grandparents who can just drop in to watch my kids. And I have my friends. I have other girlfriends who have children, and this is what we do for each other. It is amazing. The community support that I have here is just mind-blowing. The support is outpouring. It was great. The second issue that I'd like to address.
Hold on, ma'am. Let's. What I'd like, if you can, reserve all of the rest of your issues. It was just a quick question that the witness had for the issue of a daycare. You've confirmed that there is no daycare. So let's continue with the opposition, and then we will come back to you, and we will hear from you again. Thank you.
Okay.
Did find the chat from Jill Kraus writing in support that they're allowed to stay in their residence to continue to raise their children in the city and stay at their current school. All right, so we did find that. So now I will go back to Mr. Folks. Mr. Folks?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. I definitely share very similar views with my wife, which is a good thing. However, likewise, I have some questions. So Anya and I have been neighbors for like, I don't know, 15, 20 years. In fact, she even introduced me to my wife. So, like, I would like to think that we're friends. But no one ever, I didn't know anything about this until I finally see a sign go up on the wall out front. I'm like, what? You want to build a 4th story? And I don't understand Ms. DeBarge's comments. I quote, you bought on the back side of the community. What the heck does that mean? I bought this house because I like this house and I like the view. And we just had our deck refinished and we definitely use it often. And this notion of 15 feet back, I don't know how you're going to do that without it falling off the back of the house. And Mr. Coballo saying, oh yeah, it's really hilly there. and everybody else has a doghouse. Well, A, it's not hilly, and B, okay, a doghouse is a pretty small structure, blocks your view of whatever, 3 feet, 4 feet. This is apparently an entire penthouse, an entire another floor. So, not that I'm like, oh my God, this is awful, the end of the world, but it's not just the notion of a view. And Ms. DeBarge once again said, you should have known that this could happen. Well, I suppose only if you're granted a variance to do it. And I bought it because I liked the view. So now somebody else can just come in and say, oh, we're going to block your view. I mean, there's supposed to be some fairness here, and it's not just about the aesthetics of the view. It's clear, I've listened to this all afternoon. People complain about the notion of the loss of value, because that is a value to be able to look around and see the sky. Like I would predict that I would lose my entire view of the downtown skyline. Okay, like I said, not the end of the world, but it's not just about the aesthetics. It's about the value and being able to sell your home when that time comes. I've lived here for 20 years, and I'm not in any mode to move immediately, but eventually I will. And that impacts the value in a big way. And you can't reverse it. Once it's built, it's done, and then that view is gone. And then like my wife was saying, that I heard Mr. Cavallo say something about, we talked to the Canton Economic Development Committee. I have no idea what that is, never heard of it. I do know that we are members of Fells Prospect Community Association. Canton Community Association has absolutely nothing to do with us. Their viewpoint should have absolutely zero bearing on it. That's like saying Remington thinks this is a great idea. Who cares? It's not their area. And then, like I said, I see the sign, blah, blah, blah. I don't know anything about it. I see it's at least a couple months or so off, 20 some days off. I happen to run into her husband, which, we wave to each other. Never really had much of a conversation, but we wave. I ask him at a street corner, hey, I see that you're wanting to do this. Can you, like, at least, sit down with us, give us some information, show me some drawing? Like, I know nothing about this. Yeah, sure. I'll talk to Anya about it. Okay, well, you can just leave it in the door. You can put it in the mailbox, whatever. But that would really help a lot for me to, be able to make a decision here as to, if I even have a position. Nothing. Heard nothing. The only thing he said in parting was like, well, we'll still be neighbors, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm like, okay. So I didn't quite get the lack of consideration to say, hey, I live 2 doors down from you. I don't live on Cambridge. I don't live on Van Lille. I don't live a mile away from you. I live next door to you. And I would think that you'd at least give the courtesy of trying to have a discussion to try and see how this actually works. But no, nobody did that. So that's why I'm more than just a little frustrated that, here we are making a decision about this pretty intrusive thing. I get the whole space thing. We got a dog, a cat, a daughter. We got 1 bedroom upstairs, 1 bedroom on the second. That's it. We make it work, but I'm not asking anybody to build a 4th floor. So anyway, just a little disappointed in the way this has been handled and some of these comments, because I'm like, it almost sounds like we as neighbors who have very legitimate concerns are being disparaged because we don't support it. Hey, I've lived here 20 years. I love this place. I love my neighbors. I love the schools. I love the people. But please don't disparage me because I have concerns about how this is going to affect me.
Okay.
Can
That's
I
it.
to this?
Thank you.
Are there any other opposition?
Thank you, Mr. Folk. Sorry about that. I was talking while I was muting again. Looks like we have 1 more in opposition, but there's no name with it. It's just a number. So if you typed in 2021-238 twice, I think you just put something in the chat as well. So I just unmuted you.
Yeah, I don't have really a position one way or the other, but I do share the concern that there was no communication, and that I found out about this through somebody that messaged me that lives actually adjacent, so to them. And so I, just kind of found out about this and didn't even find the plans until I pulled up the stuff on the Baltimore City website and tried to figure out what exactly is going on. That's just kind of my thoughts on it.
Okay.
Who was that?
Who was speaking just now?
Yeah.
This is 2218 Essex Street, Christopher Rakoski.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Is that the last portion of testimony from the opposition?
I believe so. I'm looking to see if there's any other hand raises. I don't see anything. Oh, hold on. They changed the coloring on this and it's hard for me to see. Nope, I think that's everybody. So unless you've raised your hand or put in the chat, I believe that is, oh wait, Mr. Todd, thought we got him for the last one. So, Mr. Todd, are you here to speak on the Essex property?
Yes. I'm all for, the improvement of our neighborhoods. And as for referencing, fourth story, and maybe it's my misunderstanding of the coding or the zoning, but I don't consider a bump out or a doghouse as a true livable fourth story. What they're proposing and some other things, that's a much bigger obstruction than a whole living space. So, the reference to the properties that have been made for this and a few other properties, I think is a little misleading when they are referring to them as fourth stories. I've been in a few of them and I know they're not four stories. They have a bump out that if you add that, yes, or a doghouse, it is a fourth story. So I just think the clarification, whether I bought on the backside, front side, or down the street, I just think the fairness of at some point in the neighborhood, lady that's buying a house, if I want to put a 5 or 6 story bump out on the top of my house, are you going to object in the future? My guess is probably you'll have some concerns, but that's where I'll leave it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. And I believe that's it for everyone that everyone that has testified has testified. So now we're back to rebuttal for Mr. Carballo and Mr. Cabola. Ms. Cabola.
Thanks again. If I could address, I guess, a number of points here with respect to what we're here for today. We're here today to speak about the ability for this structure to be built up to 45 feet, which we meet the minimum requirements. I'll remind the board that this is a conditional use for building height. As been settled previously, regardless of the notion of space at that height does not come into play. So whether it's a doghouse or an entire floor, that's not what's in the code. What's in the code is the height. And as in an R8 zoning district, if I have an interior lot that adjoins a street right-of-way of at least 30 feet wide, which I do, I can build up to a 45-foot height with a conditional use. We are not going outside of those allowable regulations. If I can address community involvement, this is a very odd part of this part of Baltimore, where you have intersecting neighborhoods that overlay each other. And speaking with Canton Community Association, they do have jurisdiction over this block. They would not have seen us had they not have jurisdiction. The Canton Economic Development Group also has jurisdiction. As far as Fells Prospect is concerned, that apparently, as I learned here sitting today, they have some sort of overlay with them. Nevertheless, we did reach out to those two groups that have jurisdiction over this area, and the homeowners took on the responsibility of going door to door, partly because they know their neighbors, they know their area. And I believe, with the letters of support, I think that proves that. Obviously, regrettably, there are certain neighbors that are adjoining that should have been notified. However, we did present to local community groups, which is the proper channel. Further to that, with respect to the rear yard setback request, 20 foot is required. We're asking for 15 feet, and that is given so that we can align the existing property. This would not have there would not be a worsening of what's already there. And I will also point out that there is a shared sort of balcony or a shared elevated deck that is in the rear that provides that setback. Further, as per planning department requirements, we have set this back more than the minimum requirement for a penthouse, which is 10 feet. We're actually extending this back to 15 feet. And again, also underneath the limit of 45 feet. The height is what is the consideration, not the area of the height, has been previously settled in numerous BMZA cases. With that, there really isn't anything else to say. We meet the requirements, and we have gone through the process as required. One further thing to note is that, although unfortunate, a view is not a right. No one has a right to a view, and unfortunate, that doesn't prevent someone in between you and the water from building their property if they are building it to the letter of the zoning law as we are presenting. With respect to evaluations, you can't quantify the value of a view. You will not find an appraiser out there that can say view A is worth this many dollars versus view B is worth this many dollars for an evaluation. So any notion that it's going to negatively impact their property value is not quantifiable and really doesn't hold any water for their argument. And I hope that the board would support this so that we retain this family for this neighborhood.
Thanks, sir. Are we going to hear finally from the homeowner that she had? I cut her off earlier. She was going to do another issue, but
Did you have questions for me?
no, I have no question for you, ma'am. I just wanted to be sure that I didn't unfairly cut you off when you were seeking to speak earlier.
Oh, there were other two issues that Nicole brought up about a small room on the ground floor where a renter from many years ago put one of their older children. It was I remember them. They rented a home next to me for a year, and they did have two grown children older than my 9-year-old, and they put one of their kids in the downstairs room. It has no closet and it has no bathroom. It's a ground level and 1 story removed. They signed their lease for 1 year and then they moved to the county.
Okay, not presently before us. Okay. Anything else?
Oh, and Jeff's concern about communication between him and my husband. I was not aware about this communication. I'm sorry if somebody's feelings were hurt, but the amount of time it took me to collect the 21 signatures were so fast. I literally stood there watering my flowers, and people were coming to me, and once I collected signatures from 2204 and then the future owners of 2212, I haven't seen Jeff in the last 21 days, and I haven't seen Nicole in the last 21 days, and they never came to me to talk about it since we put the sign up.
And I think we're good on the communications, yay or nay. So I think that's well stated in the record at this point. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, Katie, that concludes the testimony for this matter.
It does. So that's
Okay.
the last matter, and that concludes the testimony for this matter. And I believe that Jay has pretty much a hard stop here in a couple minutes, so we
Yeah.
probably need to get
Right.
to
Okay.
deliberations.
So that is,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, that wraps up the docket, and so we can proceed to deliberations at this point.
Can we take 5? I'm gonna go to my car. I'm gonna call in and we'll do deliberations while I'm driving to get my mom.
Sure.
So it's 4:28. I'll call in about 5 minutes once I get to my car, and then we can finish up.
Okay, very well. Thank you, Jay.
Save
Okay,
everyone
sure.
time.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Or see you soon.
Right.